Mr. Dr. Jamie Moncrief, happy Christmas.
Hey, brother.
Where's your drink?
Finished it.
Fuck you.
No, I didn't have it.
It is December the 17th?
I don't know.
18th. You're probably going to be watching this video close to Christmas. So if you are, happy Christmas. You've had quite a week, haven't you, since you last came on this TikTok channel, Mr. Jamie Moncrief.
Yeah, I started getting recognised in the hospital, actually, for the TikToks we were making.
So how many followers did you have on TikTok this time last week?
I don't know, what did we say?
700?
Yeah.
What you got now?
4,000. I don't know, should we have a look?
Have a look. Let's go live. I reckon you've got about 4,500 followers, which is not anything to be sniffed at. Now, I'm an absolute advocate
Of sniffing.
of sniffing arseholes. And yes, I may have had a Bailey's tonight.
4,404.
4,404, which is amazing. And I've said to people, since I started my TikTok journey, this app can change your life and you are only one video away from changing your life. Now, that might be a positive or a negative. And I said to the young lads yesterday that came on here, one of them's a model, one of them's a professional footballer. It can change your life, but it could fucking ruin your life. So be very careful what you're putting out there. So if you're being a cunt for your first 10, 15 videos and one of them goes viral, that's what you're going to be recognised for. And it could ruin your life. But equally, if you have a bit of a plan, it can change things. Now, I know, after having conversations with you over the last few days, that your mentality on life is starting to change because of this fucking stupid app from China that people associate with dancing and girls getting the tits out and fucking stupid memes. You're now developing a platform where you can help people, whether it's medical advice, whether it's life advice. And I couldn't have told you this 2 months ago, but I did tell you this can change your life. And this is your third attempt, isn't it?
First serious attempt.
But it's your third attempt.
It's not. I had a phone. I uploaded a couple of TikTok videos. It was an old broken phone. They looked awful quality. I put no thought into the content. Didn't know, I just deleted it. And I was like, hang on, I'm going to try this again. I'll just try it. And then I deleted it.
Was it an attempt?
Not
Do
really.
you remember the first time you fucked a bird?
Yeah.
It was pathetic.
That was an attempt.
It was an attempt. Your second time may have not been much better. And the third time might have been.
I wasn't actively trying, though.
No,
This time I was.
But you're only comparing that to where you are now. You had an attempt. You created a TikTok channel. You gave it a name. You created content that you thought was going to do well.
No, I didn't.
So why did you do it then?
Foolishness.
Foolishness. And
This time I properly did, though.
this time you probably did. So what's your highest viewed video, Mr. Moncrief? Dr. Moncrief. Do I have to call you Dr. Moncrief now or Mr.?
Well,
Or living arsehole?
you can call me. As you've just very eloquently highlighted, I was going to say you can call me whatever you want.
Whatever the fuck I want to call you.
I've never been asked to be called by a title once in my career.
What does that mean?
Well, there's a lot of medics out there, especially consultants, who like to be referred to as Dr. So-and-so.
Because they're jumped up pricks and they think they're more important than they are.
Work environment.
Yeah, and you don't. And
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you the answer to that, and why I'm on board with this now and full time from August. Is that this is what I went to say when you went off to the toilet and you said you can go on. You got 20 minutes to be tested out as host. You're gonna have to go and watch it now.
I will.
This is essentially what I talked about. I think this is my niche in medicine. I don't think there are many doctors whose character literally does not change one bit from when they're on the ward to when you and I are speaking. And obviously there might be different emphasis, and I'm not going to make a TikTok video in exactly the same way that I would describe something to a patient. But I don't change my personality. I make no attempt to behave differently or whatever when I go to work. And that's the same on this TikTok channel. And I will just speak, and I think I adequately express a lot of quite interesting ideas that people seem to engage with about medicine. And I think that is my niche for it. You're not going to find many doctors who will just walk out here and you could ask me any question and I'll tell you my truthful answer on it.
Is that not the same in most walks of life? You and I were talking whilst Ben was fanning around doing something earlier. We were supposed to have started this podcast, an hour and a half ago? And we were talking about being an actor and wearing different kind of masks and being a different person in certain environments.
Yeah, I've not got that ability though. You do.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do have that ability. But maybe not having the ability to do that is what's so refreshing. And you've got to be very, very fucking careful because...
What do you mean refreshing?
Well, in a world where everything's fake and everything is a what do you fucking call them things that the girls put on the faces on, not makeup, but on Instagram?
The point you're making there is everything is a facade.
Everything's a filter. Everything's I'm so happy. Everything's I'm doing so well. When the reality is, as soon as that camera drops, as soon as that dinner party's over, they go back to arguing with the husband and hating their kids and hating their life and putting 3 grams of coke up their nose and waking up the next morning and hating themselves. When actually we're probably coming to a time now. But in all seriousness, if you've watched the last two podcasts I've done with Nick Donald,
I agree,
this guy has come on here and he has spoken about cocaine addiction and a habit in the most perverse, disgusting, despicable way. I have never heard this before on any channel, and that's what he said to me. We've had conversations before he's ever come on, and he says, I want to come on and I do not want to glamorize it in one way or shape or form. I want people to understand how deprived, disgusting, obscene the entire habit is. And I think we're getting into an era now where people want that. I'm a single person and my life's shit.
Yeah.
And I can't afford to feed my kids and I can't afford to put petrol in and I can't do this. So a doctor coming at it with a similar idea, not necessarily as barbaric in the examples that you give or I don't know. But there's something very refreshing about going, fuck, I can relate to that. Rather than... oh, you've told me every person that ever does X, Y, and Z makes a full recovery. When the reality is, maybe only 10% of them do. And the rest of them are going to struggle.
Go on then. Any medical thing that bothers you? Or, no, throughout the podcast. If you can think of anything you want to know opinion on.
Put that thingy on there, and now it's messed up.
Change it then.
It's gone really dark.
Just take it off then. Turn the TV off. Don't matter. Whatever. So, one of the videos that absolutely popped on, I'm not entirely sure if it did too well on yours, but certainly one of the clips that we put on the Pure Waffle Podcast TikTok channel. Of me was, when we were talking. Was it me? No, it was me and Nick. Talking about me going on sertraline.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been on my channel.
No. It's got nearly 1 million views.
Mm.
And a lot of the people on there are saying to me, you should not be promoting that fucking drug. It is the devil, it's this, it's that. And I've just been open and honest, and it's changed my life. Doesn't work for everybody.
No.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you've got people that will be in one camp or another. And I think you're the kind of person that would come on and say, look,
when you say you think, you know everything about me.
I've got a very good friend who has had an amazing reaction to sertraline. But equally, I've got 4 or 5 people that have had a very negative impact. And I think it's very refreshing that people will say things like that. Whereas I think that a lot of people in the past will go and ask advice from a specialist, a doctor, a physician, whatever, and feel like they're being given the bullshit narrative that they're being told to say. Which is one of the reasons why I went to carnivore diet for the last 18 days, because I listened to a doctor.
Up efficacy rates.
I looked up a doctor who was saying I should have been giving people knee replacements.
Sertraline. Yeah.
And the first thing that they should have done was go and try an all-meat diet for a month and then come back to me. And he said, I can't remember the statistics, 70 or 90% of the people didn't come back to him because it solved it. And he nearly lost his medical license because the medical license people were saying, we need to be fucking making money from these knee replacements.
Yeah.
And I think you're the kind of doctor that would say that. Do you know what? Sertraline doesn't work for everybody. Some people have horrendous reactions to it. But I've got a very close friend that I've known since I was 4 years old that it has absolutely transformed his life. Rather than telling everybody that that's what everybody's reaction is, which it clearly isn't.
No, it's worth pointing out with sertraline. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, if I don't think something's safe for you to take, and I could name a drug that would absolutely fit into that category that people get prescribed.
So what does this mean on here then, Jamie?
Well, we need to look at it. Let's have a look. Ben, crack it open, because that's just a summary. Remission. I don't know what.
So we're looking at efficacy of sertraline in a 12-week trial.
Ben, just go to the conclusion at the bottom.
So we're essentially looking at whether
It's worth
sertraline has
pointing
been
out, though,
studied.
that sertraline is a first-line medication
Yes.
for depression, for anxiety,
Yes.
for obsessive compulsive disorder. This is an unbelievably studied medication that we know an awful lot about. Does it work for everyone? No. Is there a reason it's first-line treatment in this amazing line of pharmaceutical discoveries and progress that we've made? Yeah, it's for a lot of people, it's an absolutely brilliant drug. Generally, the side effects are not too severe. It has rare side effects, as every drug does. And if you've got a minority of the population who are going to react badly to a drug, let's say 0.1% of people. Okay, well, if 50,000 people take it, I think is that 50 people who have reacted? You know, across a population level, those numbers become very significant.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just take the absolute number. You've got to see what its relative rates are. And am I saying there is no possibility whatsoever of badly reacting to sertraline, you know, not having the desired effect? You know, people who often take sertraline, actually their symptoms for 4 to 6 weeks will get worse before they get better.
You see, I didn't notice any of that.
But generally speaking, it's a very safe medication. I'm not telling you to take it. You have to talk through with your doctor, and it has to be a decision that you and a personal medic who's talking to you about your individual situation, which for obvious reasons in this scenario I can't do. Do I think it's worth that conversation if you're clinically indicated? Absolutely. That's my opinion on
it has
sertraline.
literally changed my life.
Yeah, there you go.
In the only
You
negative...
can keep going for 2 hours now.
I can keep going for 5 hours, mate.
He's never got it past 15 minutes before.
Trust me, it's a fucking game changer in the bedroom. However, the only negative side effect I have faced with it is when I've tried to stop it and gone cold turkey. And boy, did my fucking mental state spiral out of control.
Can I ask a question? Did you consult with a medic before doing
Did
that?
I fuck?
Where's the point of having a friend like me? If you're going to have a medication, I'm
Because
gonna
I
stop
just
taking
do what the fuck I want to do.
it. And you don't even call me up.
And I decided one day that I'd run out of them and I couldn't be asked to go and get any because I'd had my carpal tunnel. I
what
couldn't even
days were you
drive.
taking? I bet you have no
100
idea.
milligrams a day.
And you just stopped.
I just stopped cold turkey. And for about 2 weeks, I was golden. And then boom, it was game over. I couldn't sleep. I was getting sleep anxiety. I was waking up and feeling that my heart had stopped. I was in the most depressed state I'd ever been in. And I thought, fuck, I need to get back on the sertraline. Went back to the doctor. Well, just uploaded my new prescription on the app. Went and picked it up from the chemist 2 days later. Within 2 days, back to normal.
I don't think you can take that out on the sertraline. I don't think you are either.
I don't know.
Well, it's not the sertraline's fault. If you're going to take a medication and then not use it in the way in which it's been medically
No. I'm not saying that that's a
prescribed-
side effect. That was me, all me.
medically
100%.
prescribed
Yeah,
and
yeah,
tested.
Yeah. Cold turkey, ridiculous on it.
In a way it's not been medically prescribed and tested. Obviously, you know, the chance that you're subjecting yourself to potentially more likelihood of some adverse reaction increases exponentially. Well, there you go. That's my opinion on sertraline. But yeah, no, I'll be whatever you want. Feels like a Saturday night to me because I was
But
working
you
in the
can
evening.
fuck a bird for 5 hours and not come. It takes full focus to come, which is good and bad.
To be fair,
Honestly, it's fucking ridiculous.
ridiculous. I mean, that is insane, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
5 hours.
10 hours. 10 hours. 20 hours. It doesn't happen. You have to.
What's the longest you've ever come for?
Fucking hell. Well, I've not finished. So you've been going for that long. You've fucking worn the bird out, and it's just like, right, let's just go to sleep now.
Yeah,
And you've not even finished.
we're
Like, there's
talking
no
about
end.
Side effects of sertraline do include difficulty in climaxing.
Well, is it not prescribed for premature ejaculation?
Well, there you go. So people do find it's difficult.
So if
in
you're a one-punch chump,
climaxing.
Get yourself on 50 milligrams of sertraline, you're going to be a hero.
Yeah.
Your missus going to love your doctor.
When I'm talking to someone out, it was a nightmare going back through it because I couldn't get any things of me free speaking. That is a side effect of the medication, finding it difficulty to peak, though, 100%.
Is that the same for women?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, I would have thought so.
So I wonder if there's any women out there that have been on sertraline that can't come, that could. Well, we've just asked them. We don't need to ask them. We don't need to address the camera. We've literally asked them.
Ben's just walked off to go and ask him already.
No, he's not.
Right.
His sister might be watching.
Come on, though. How long we're talking for, though? If a patient asked me, I wouldn't know the answer to it. Let's base it. What you're about to say will be the longest I've ever heard. How long have you gone on sertraline?
What, shagging?
Yeah.
Well, like I've just said to you, 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
You said 5 before.
5? What? It makes no difference. You have to make a concerted effort and really focus to finish the job off, and it is hard work.
Yeah.
So just going through the motions of bang, 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 10 hours, no problem. 15 hours, no problem. You would shrivel up like a prune. There's no problem. There isn't that feeling that you thought, fuck, I'm close here. You have to make that concerted effort. Like, you can bang away, you could go downstairs, have something to eat, have a drink, come back, and just keep banging away. And then and just repeat and rinse. It's fucking hardcore focus.
What about the actual sensation? Any changes?
No difference. No difference.
Build up, duration,
Just
intensity?
the same. No difference. No difference.
Everything, though?
Everything's the same.
Duration, build up, intensity?
Yep. Hardness, everything.
Volume?
Yeah, fucking same. A good load. A good glazing. Yeah, a good glazing. No complaints.
Yeah. Sound like you probably had long enough to charge up, though, because if the number of orgasms that you have goes down, the volume that you produce is going to shrink.
I do think probably sex drive's gone a little bit.
That is something that do...
Is that what it says? So sexual desire, arousal, and orgasm.
It's a common...
sertraline. Oh, so it's a 3 out of 3 for all of them. So what does that mean, Jamie? Is it
Well, I don't
plus?
know. It's not included the entire table, has it? I don't know if it's...
Yeah, but what do the pluses mean?
Well, I don't know if it's measuring the side effect of the medication. It's obviously how much it agrees with it. So it's a very strong reaction based off whatever they were measuring, but it doesn't say what they were measuring. Because you're not sciencey. There's not a scientist in the world who could answer a lot of the questions you put on me. There's not enough information to answer.
Well, I'm telling you right now, mate, 100 milligrams a day
Yeah.
for 3 to 5 years, or however long I've been on it. If you took some Viagra, you could fucking pump non-stop for 10 hours.
Did you find it harder to finish on Viagra?
I've never tried Viagra in my whole life.
Oh.
But there is an epidemic of it, and the bloke that was on the other week, Nick, was saying that he thinks the epidemic of Viagra is because of cocaine. So a lot of people are taking cocaine, which adversely affects your erections, your chances of arousal and orgasm. So they're taking Viagra to then combat that.
It could equally be due to antidepressants.
Correct.
Because it's a very common side effect of many antidepressants, and the number of people who take this sort of medication far outweighs the number of people who abuse cocaine in the United Kingdom. I'm not saying that couldn't be a factor as well,
Yeah.
but I think it's a pretty radical conclusion to jump to, and I've never thought about that question once in my life. And I'm already more convinced by what I'm saying than that.
I mean, if you listen to the podcast with him, you know, he talks about finishing work at 7 o'clock, going and getting a couple of bags of Coke, sitting in his car on his own, snorting it, drinking 4 or 5 pints of Foster's in the can or whatever it was, then phoning a prostitute up and spending so much money just literally not being able to even fuck a prostitute because he can't get it up, talking about the family and where they're from and this, that and the other. He said, I've wasted so much money on prostitutes that I've never even slept with. And then going home and having an unproductive wank, feeling like he's going to give himself a heart attack because he's fucking absolutely desperate, and then maybe coming, and then waking up in the morning disgusted in himself with a cum rag at the side of his bed, which was his T-shirt he was wearing the next morning, and then going through the whole cycle again. I say he did that for 10 years.
Are you serious? T-shirt? Would he actually wear it the next morning? Is that an
I'm
exaggeration?
not entirely sure, but you know, that kind of shit he was saying, isn't it?
In the morning, he had to look to find one
That wasn't got cum filled or socks that were full of cum and stuff like that. And he's saying,
So he used to have that much arousal on it, but just failure to
correct,
complete.
yeah, couldn't get hard on, couldn't fucking do it, and he's just fucking, talking real shit, and it's like, oh my God, this is disgusting. I mean, he even starved his own cat because he was spending all his money on Coke, wasn't even paying for food for his cat, starved his cat. And the next podcast we're going to call Starving Cats and fucking Starving Cats and Paying Rats or something like that.
That's a great name. I tell you what, I imagine that cat learned to hunt pretty quickly.
Yeah, but it was locked in his fucking destitute house with just a mattress on the floor. Shit everywhere. Yeah, it was. Honestly, listen to the guy.
Bad, yeah.
It's bad. And this guy was making fucking, you know, he put £1 million up his nose in the space of 10 to 15 years. He was a high flying, had his own TV show and stuff. He was like high flyer. Making a lot of money, but spending a lot of money.
What about now?
Reformed, spiritual, puts all of his focus in his lad, regrets the decisions he made because of the impact it had on his family and his mum and his dad. He had fucking gangsters taking his fucking door off, shotguns, got kidnapped, had to move to Ireland, change his name, like proper shit. And
did you hear the whole
had a
story
heart
of this?
attack. Pardon?
Did you hear every word of this?
Every single word of this. I mean, he's done maybe 5 hours already on podcast with me. The next one's going to be uploaded within the next couple of days, and he's coming again next week. And he's like, it's just absolutely disgusting the way that it sent me and took me. And he said, people aren't talking about that. And from the first podcast, he said, I've got people reaching out to me saying, fuck, I've got a problem. You're the only person that's come on there and said it how it is. And I'm lying and I'm stealing and I'm thieving and I'm fucking making lies up and I just don't know how to get out of it. So he wants to make a big change. But I mean, the guy was fucking seriously deep in the shit.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And he said exactly what we said on the first podcast, or the first one you were here. Alcohol, he couldn't drink it. So he calls dry sniffing people that take cocaine without drinking, and he said that's very rare. If you're a dry sniffer, you're fucked. He said it was 4 cans of Stella, bag, bam, bam, done. He said he very rarely dry sniffed. He said, but there are people out there coming to him now saying, mate, I'm doing a bag a day and I'm dry sniffing. And that's fucking devastatingly bad.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? One of the things we were talking about before, which is something that we'll just put on hold for a moment, because it very heavily links to what you were saying. One of the criticisms one of my videos got was when I think I made the statement, when have you seen someone who's dry take cocaine? Obviously, that's an exaggeration between them. And I've actually seen that myself, but that got blown out of proportion, you know, in sort of the critic section of it, despite me clarifying it in the comments, because the correlation is obscene between cocaine and alcohol.
Yeah.
What's the word? Full mind blank on what that word is.
But between
Intake, use
of cocaine,
consumption.
yeah.
You know, I'd have to check it, but like 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, ridiculous. I've never. I mean, from a medical perspective, I can tell you that I've never seen someone get over a cocaine addiction who didn't first control their alcohol abuse. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out there who are saying that doesn't apply to them, and yes, that absolutely will exist. But it's an unbelievably important factor, isn't it?
I mean, you're properly fucked if you're taking coke without drinking.
And I can fully understand why someone with a drug problem would be reluctant to come and seek help from a doctor about that. Completely get it. What medic in the world could tell you what that did? No, absolutely none. And, I fully get that.
There's going to be some, of course there is. There are going to be high-functioning doctors out there that have got £100 a day habit. There has to be. But there's not many of them, and they're not approachable. Your normal GP, I go and see Dr. Gatora down at the, wherever it is, doctor surgery. You don't know what it means to finish work at 7 o'clock, go and buy 250 grams of cocaine, sit in a car park, snorting it, drinking 6 cans of Stella, looking for prostitutes to go and fucking talk to them, not finish, then going home after he's lied to his missus and told him where he's been, doing that for 10 years. There's not a GP around that's done that because they've lost their career, they're finished. He was lucky enough to be in a industry where he could hide it very well, and he was surrounded by people that were doing the same things.
This is why it's always good to be yourself, isn't it? Because this is something that hugely guides my personal medical practice. When a patient comes in and I know they've got a story about them, it doesn't matter whether it's someone who's been addicted to drugs, someone with cancer, a child with autism, I can always absolutely connect to them because I have not lived firsthand these experiences. But I know a lot of people, close friends, a lot of them, who have lived virtually everything that patients come in to want to talk about that's not strictly related about medicine. And I think and I absolutely get that. And I will talk to you in the knowledge of knowing that, obviously not giving anything away, but I absolutely have seen what it does to people. And I will not try and sugarcoat that at all. And I don't mind talking about my own personal or experiences of others as well. I think one of the things in medicine you do find is people try to they almost have to shut off part of their personality when they go to work, and they put on this facade of being a medic, or really anyone working.
I don't think it's just medicine, though. I think that's everything.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
How many police officers do you know that are their absolute, genuine self?
I know. I'm not quite finished, and I do agree with it. Like in lots of other works as well. But why would you want to do that? You're shutting off not only a part of your personality, but all the connections, all the experiences that you have from that, which people can draw on, which is why I'm a full advocate for being yourself. If you have to be a more behaved, regulated version of yourself, then absolutely fine. But don't forget who you are and what you've learned as a person. What do you think?
I think people do it out of fear.
Do you agree with what I said, though?
I do agree with what you said, yeah. But it's not an easy stance.
It's not an easy
for people to take, because you've got fear of ridicule. You've got fear of your parents find. So this is fucking totally left field. But I watched a podcast the other day, and this guy was sat there with a load of girls who were OnlyFans, and he said, "Would you be proud of your mum and dad to find your work on OnlyFans?" And they've said no. And he said, and that's the problem. Because deep down, you know that what you're doing is wrong. If I was a doctor or a lawyer, and my mum and dad found out what I was doing, I'd be happy for them to have found out what I was doing and the content I was putting out there, whatever it was. Because I knew deep down in my heart that what I was doing was right. And I think a lot of people have done things that deep down in their heart, they know is probably wrong, societally, or within their family nucleus, whatever it might be. Like, yeah, I've gone out and I've taken some drugs and I've done some E's and I've done some pills. They keep that to themselves. But a doctor that goes out and says that, all of a sudden it's like, fucking hell. But the problem that I also have with that is, How can a fat cunt of a doctor be advising you to lose weight and do this, that, and the other? Why are they not equally as ashamed as you going to a doctor and saying, look, I've been fucking snorting coke, and the doctor saying to you, do you know what? I had a cocaine habit, and this is how I overcame it. A doctor's more worried about that, or saying that I used to do pills, or saying that I used to do this, and that, and the other, than turning up with somebody that's pre-diabetic or diabetic and then themselves are 25 stone and going, well, actually, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And you're thinking, you fucking what? You fat cunt? How can you advise me on my lifestyle choices and what I put in my mouth when you're morbidly obese? I'd be a hell of a lot, you know. Could you imagine going to a doctor and going, I've got a cocaine problem. I'm going to work. I'm coming home and I'm doing 2, 3, 4 grams of coke, and the doctor turning around to you and saying, I've got the same problem. I completely understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to figure it out myself. And these are the paths that I'm going down. Could you imagine how much you'd relate with your fucking doctor then? You'd be like, fuck me. I can talk to this guy. I can pick the phone up. I can message this guy. But what happens is, you know, imagine going to a fat cunt of a doctor because you're a fat cunt and them saying, do you know what, I'm a fat cunt as well. And I'm eating fucking McDonald's every night and KFC, and I know what you're going through.
What do you reckon it would be like if you had that exact same problem and you came to see me? Or something similar? Any problem?
I always said, knowing you from 4 years old, I've always said Jamie would be the worst doctor to go to, because if you went in with X, Y, and Z, he would turn around and say, you're a fat bastard. Lose some weight first, then come back to me. And I always thought that that was a negative, but actually it's a positive. But the problem is, you'll get the sack.
I mean,
you get
that would be
you will
far.
get the sack.
Okay, well, I mean, there's a number of questions to answer. That would be far from my normal phraseology to start with. I don't generally speak like this, but I have absolutely not changed in one sense, that I do just be honest. I mean, guidelines are really, really important, but that's why they're there. They're called guidelines, aren't they? Mm-hmm. But you have to trust yourself, and like being a doctor for me does not come before being a human, if that makes sense.
Correct.
It's not the right priority to have. You know, not all humans are doctors, but all doctors are humans, and you cannot forget that fact. And I will speak to you openly and honestly. I mean, one of the things I often talk about that is not strictly on NHS, like treatment algorithms or pathways, is like when people come with anxiety, we'll actually talk through why is it the people, we can come on to that, but it's not typical practice. And the response you get from patients is unbelievable. Genuinely, people love it. They can talk to you. I can't tell you how many. It happens every single week, where if you drop that, I've never had a conversation like this with a doctor. You know, you're better. You know, and you're not being funny. It's not difficult stuff. There's no reason why anyone couldn't go and do that, as long as they're just a friendly person who are genuinely interested in other people and have got a reasonable level of life experience.
But what if you've got a house and a mortgage and 2 kids, and you're giving this advice out, and the powers that be come to you and say, you can't say this anymore, Jamie. When somebody comes into us and asks this question, you have to prescribe them this drug. And if you don't, you're done. Then what happens?
But medicine's not like that.
I know it's not like that, but what if it is? What if it was?
Well, it's a hypothetical question.
Why are people prescribing drugs to people when actually a conversation is probably the best thing? And
well, let's come on to that. But the interesting question, before you even have to get hypothetical and put other constraints on it, is that why do a lot of people and a lot of doctors feel the need to do that anyway? I don't break any GMC guidelines. I don't break anything.
So what is it? Is it time?
But if I had a wife or a kid, for instance, or preferably I wouldn't have one without the other. Certainly not the kid without...
Husband and a kid.
Kid without the wife. Husband and a kid. I wouldn't act any different. No different at all. You know that.
No, I know you wouldn't. But I think you're one of the doctors that would end up being sacked.
I've never had
and struck off.
Okay, but put it this way.
You haven't had a complaint from a person, but when you're not bringing the money in... But it's all about money. It's all about money. Pharmaceutical
They
companies
don't monitor individual doctors
control
like that.
doctors.
They don't monitor individual
Maybe
doctors
not individual
like that.
doctors, but as the grand whole scheme of things, they need to sell so many pills a year to meet their targets. And if doctors are going out and saying, actually, go and do a carnivore diet for the next month, and you might not need that arthritis painkiller
Yeah.
or whatever it is, all of a sudden they start seeing figures coming in, and they go and do a bit of research, and they find out that 50 out of 100 of their doctors are recommending a carnivore diet and not fucking the next pill or anti-inflammatory. And then it's knock on the door. Hello, Dr. Jamie Moncrief. We can see that you've not prescribed for the last 12 months. Is there a reason for this? And you're like, yeah, there is a reason for this. Because
Do you think this is actually happening or will happen?
100% happening. 100%.
Okay, then I have to tell you it's a conspiracy theory. Certainly,
100%.
maybe the scale of it.
Yes, possibly.
It is a conspiracy theory, Nick. I can tell you.
If we cure cancer tomorrow, would the pharmaceutical companies come out with the drug that has cured it, and that's it?
Okay,
Job
Nick,
done.
but you know, if you're gonna come on, man, you need to let me respond to some questions without, because there's so many on it. Like, that is a totally different question to what you first ask. Medics are not being directly controlled by pharmaceutical powers that be. Doesn't happen. Individual doctors are not monitored to that extent. That's the sort of thing. It's not getting audited on how many people presenting with these symptoms did you prescribe. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
But there has to be.
I've never heard of an audit like that. And then when, disciplinary action after it, I don't even know any doctor who's been struck off. As long as you can justify what you do in medicine, because our guidelines are not written by pharmacists. They're written by doctors. And most doctors that I know are good people. I think it's an interesting thing, because I actually do know quite a lot of teachers who don't like kids. I don't know a single doctor who doesn't like people. Not one. Out of my own personal experience, I'm not saying it's there. They write our guidelines, and as long as you can explain something, justify it, you're never in trouble. As long as it's a reasonable decision. I'm telling you now, Nick, in UK, it's not happening. 100% not happening.
I just don't believe that where the money goes, there isn't corruption.
Okay, but that's a totally different question.
So is every GP surgery in the UK tied to a pharmacy?
No.
No? Do GP surgeries make money from the surgery that they refer them to? Is there commission based, or what happens? Because go to my doctor's.
There's business partnerships, but that's where what you are saying. There is some. I'm not saying for a minute that financial institutions and whatnot do not affect medical practice. Of course, that's not true. I mean, even look at the people who sponsor. Was it? I can't remember. It was off What the Health. It was quite interesting, and a company that made a food product which directly caused diabetes was, I believe, some of their recipes were posted on the Diabetes National website.
Mm-hmm.
Obscene. That's and that's probably the level of corruption that exists to varying degrees throughout different countries. But that is completely different to what you said.
Was it cheaper to offer me sertraline after my first appointment than it would have been to have offered me cognitive behavioural therapy, whatever you were talking about before, the least used medical?
You had a lot of red flags when you went in for a number of reasons. First of all, had you considered suicide at that point?
No.
Okay. Had you, maybe not seriously considered it, but had the thought ever entered your mind and you just considered the matter objectively?
No. I went in and I said, my wife's left me. I'm feeling really fucking shit.
That's not what you told me. You said you were bad, really low at that point, because they didn't just prescribe you sertraline.
They also gave me benzos.
They gave you benzodiazepines, and a benzodiazepine you take in the case of acute stress.
Yes.
It's like for instance, if you're feeling really bad, I want you to take this. If you went in with no red flags, it would be highly unusual to jump to sertraline and benzodiazepines, which are both significant treatments to undertake. You obviously weren't prescribed the benzos regularly, which was absolutely the right decision. It would be unusual practice. That's all I can say. But from my memory, that's not the sort of mental state that you were in.
I wasn't suicidal then at all. It hadn't crossed my mind. It was lostness, desperation, and not having a clear understand. Just worry. Just everything getting on top of me.
Okay, well, if you want to know the answer, let's put this to the test. Depending on how many notes your doctor writes, this could be fruitful or it could not be. I don't know who you went to see. Obviously, don't name them.
No.
If you go back to them and you were like, look, can we have a look at what we actually wrote down when you and I had this conversation?
Yeah.
And unless there's just poverty of writing, which is where they've just not recorded very much, I'd be surprised if there's not a reference to something. And I'd be even more surprised if it's not justified on there, or at least if the doctor wouldn't be able to remember it and justify some of the reasons why he might have started it. And I think it would sound very reasonable. That's genuinely what I believe.
Yeah, and you might be right. It's a long time ago. It's hazy.
Go and ask him. It'll be on. As long as you've not changed your pre-practice, your notes
but
are
like
there.
I say, I'm not in the camp of I should have gone down that, because that has literally changed my life, and the sertraline has helped me from when I was 10 years old.
And what I will say is, these companies get rich by creating amazing products. Let's not get our head around that. This is capitalism
taken to its ultimate, because they're producing something that really works.
This is capitalism in medicine, because a company is producing a product which statistically benefits the life of people. That's why this treatment is, and look what it's done for you. So, I don't know, from the evidence that we have before us, there's really very little that convinces me of a conspiracy theory. But I can tell you how I deal with certain problems, and I've never got in trouble. Have I prescribed sertraline? Yes, absolutely. Also prescribed duloxetine, amlodipine, different antidepressants. But I'll be able to justify every single one of them why I've done it. And if we decide it's not the thing to prescribe medication, we don't. But that's the decision that I just take, and it's obviously not too out of whack with anything. I mean, I've done what I wanted from the start, obviously within reason. But as I said, what I mean by that is being a doctor does not come before being human. And that's been my methodology from the start. And if it got to a point where that had to change, I would leave medicine, because that's how strongly I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had no trouble whatsoever.
Do you think that's unusual? Or from what you've seen or heard or been around, is that commonplace?
My approach to medicine?
If being human was compromised, or being asked to be compromised over a doctor, they'd leave.
No, I don't think it is.
Because what does the doctor with £1 million house and 50 grand's worth of debt and a wife that got 17 Louis Vuitton handbags, what do they do?
I mean, obviously that's an extreme example. I mean, there would be a lot of doctors who would be in a position to leave if they wanted to. A lot of them come from supported backgrounds, a lot not, obviously. But you're not generally got doctors in terrible financial situations, not generally. Do they get an adequate pay for the work they do is a completely different question.
Mm-hmm.
But there certainly would be a lot who would be able to walk away. Out of those ones, let's take it. I mean, what was the original question? Do I think my take on it is unusual? Yes, yeah, absolutely. But Nick, that's why people really like me. And that's why patients they will get on really well with all of them.
But I wonder if...
And Nick, I wouldn't be able to do my job as well if they brought that law in. So I don't want to present some version of myself. Not if I could come onto a podcast like this and just talk freely.
I get that. But I wonder if 20 years down the line, that's changed.
For me?
Yeah.
Never.
But with people that are presenting as a human first and a doctor second, does that change? Because you don't come across many doctors that are humans first. They couldn't give a fuck.
When they're at work.
And you're out. It's a quick Google search like we've discussed before. It's medication.
I have to disagree. It is informed opinion. Most of the doctors really care. Are they being a doctor before a human? In some ways, probably in their professional display of themselves, but that's very understandable. But they're still human. They're still nice people generally.
Yeah.
Is it unusual the way in which I do it? Yeah, I just got to read my feedback. I'll bring it out. My my end of year report for my foundation year. I remember. I think it was your foundation year 1 was I'd adequately performed in every level, no concerns, portfolio pass, right, bang. But in the bit where the head of the foundation school had to write a few words about it, her opening gambit was, Jamie has a very relaxed attitude to life. I've met this woman 3 times. I'm like, what? It's a pretty harsh judgment to take. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but yeah, I mean, that's all you need to say about it. It's highly unusual.
But you have got a very relaxed. I think you only need to meet you twice to understand that you've got a very relaxed.
But which
outlook
doctor
on
would
life.
you rather see?
Well, there's obviously a doctor that both you and I do know that, is an amazing doctor. And he's got a very similar outlook on life. But I just don't know if that's the general consensus across the board.
No,
And
but from a
maybe that's just
patient perspective, which one do you reckon most patients would rather see?
Um,
Be more open with, have a better experience, be
Yeah.
more trusting,
Yeah.
understand the decisions and why the decisions are being. I'll always talk through a patient why those decisions are being made. I don't want someone going away on a pill not knowing why they're on it. If you're on a pill and you have no idea why you are taking it, then why couldn't it be an erroneous prescription? What are you even taking it for?
I had no idea why the doctor gave me the things he gave me.
I would never have put you in that situation.
No idea.
I don't want a single patient out there who's got enough mental capacity to understand their own healthcare decisions, who doesn't understand why they're taking a medication.
Tell them that thing that we were going to make a TikTok about a year ago, about voting and...
A year ago?
Well, it was a good 6 months ago.
Oh, sorry, Ben, that's actually stuck down.
What was it? It was something about somebody with the mental capacity can't vote, but they can, or something along those lines.
Oh, it was really, really interesting. Okay, I don't know if this has changed. Ben, can you Google this up? But as far as I'm aware, someone I think the UK voting restriction laws are exceedingly low. We're talking, there's probably a few criteria, but it's so basic. It's like 18 years old, UK resident. Certainly this was the case that people who hadn't passed a capacity assessment from a medical perspective were still able to vote. It's interesting, isn't it? Maybe if you knew exactly what their vote was going to be before. For instance, if you've got someone who's voted Labour or voted Conservative or Lib Dem or whatever it is all their life, and they say, right, if I get put into that position, this is what you will vote, someone carrying it out. But it's very open to abuse, isn't it? And obviously a lot of cases aren't like that. Is that still the case, Ben?
I don't entirely get what you mean.
So, for instance, someone with crippling dementia is not always capable of taking care of themselves or realistically any aspect of life in some cases.
So what he was saying to me basically was...
But Ben, I think some can vote.
They can't make a decision on their healthcare, but they can vote.
So a capacity assessment is very interesting. I've actually refused to do several capacity assessments because it's not been within my competence, because you're assessing the decision that has to be made. So for instance, let's say you're in a position to decide about whether to take your treatment or whatnot, but you were ill at this point, you were elderly, you had a lot of comorbidities. It's not particularly obvious at this point, and yet you've lost your ability on some level to reason, you can't communicate your ideas. We have to do an assessment of you naturally to see, is this person essentially in a fit state to form a reasonable decision and then communicate it to us on the balance of all the information that we've given them. But that decision might be about going home. It might be about a medical decision. So if the right person to do it might be a physiotherapist, it might be an occupational therapist, it might be a doctor. I wouldn't do one on, I had to refuse to do several during a rotation because physios were coming up to me and asking, can you do a capacity assessment on this patient, whether it needs to be a, whatever it was, route 1, route 2 or route 3 discharge?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I have no idea what any of those words mean. I couldn't. And that's where we don't take the assessment, if that makes sense. But it is very, very clear in many cases that someone would fail a capacity assessment. Like, for instance, that example we had, someone with dementia, or for anyone who's ever just seen an old person who's aged, they've got dementia, clearly messages aren't going to get through, and the same thought processes are not going on. You can imagine it's very obvious in a lot of cases what that outcome is going to be. And here we have, that is perfect timing. A lack of mental capacity is not a legal incapacity to vote.
Wow.
I mean, sorry?
That's unbelievable.
And I agree with that. A lack of mental capacity, in some cases, would not impact your ability to vote. But in other cases, it affects...
So just break that down for somebody without using long words.
Yeah.
Imagine you were going to describe that to a 6-year-old cousin of yours. What does that mean?
Well, let's go off the premises they actually understand voting. So a bit older, but okay. Right, well, when it's election time, obviously, and you've got to pick who you're going to vote for. So-and-so, they're still allowed to vote. You're like, what? But they just lie there. They don't speak to anyone all day. They clearly don't understand what anyone's saying to them. What do you mean they're allowed to, or they're capable of going through that process and producing a vote, which is same as any of our votes, same as mine, yours, Ben's.
A mute, deaf, and blind person is allowed to vote, but they probably wouldn't be allowed to make a decision on their healthcare procedures.
Okay, it's very difficult because someone who's mute, deaf, and blind probably wouldn't be capable. Most times that view wouldn't get expressed. So I think that's very, very unusual. But the point is there.
But the point is there.
They're
the rules. They are the rules.
Does anyone else think that's strange?
I think it's absolutely crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy.
How many doctors have told you that?
Exactly, but these are the things that when somebody comes out with stuff like that, then it gets spun a yarn, and it's it's used against this and used against that.
What I've done is state of fact. In my opinion,
it's critical thinking and going out and doing that themselves. And this brings me on to what we were talking about the last time we were here. That should you be allowed to vote until you've seen both parties' manifestos, you've seen both parties speaking to each other in an environment, and you've seen them both individually or whatever it might be? And the answer is no. And how many people have done that? Probably less than 2% of the population.
Such an interesting, I think. I mean, I don't know about voting abuse, but certainly voting influence. You use your wife as a really, really good example of someone who voted just purely off the basis of what you were going to do. Think how many people that applies to who are voting every single time. The Brexit. This pattern was annoying.
It's been
me
annoying me.
Oh, you've done it?
I've done that, but that one's wrong there.
Yeah, it is.
You see, Ben, we picked up on that the whole time we've been doing this podcast. He's got the fucking patterns wrong on these polystyrene.
I don't think he'd thought about it once.
Well, he didn't look at it.
I don't think that thought would enter his mind.
No, he didn't see it.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
You know the only bone in the body that's not connected to another bone?
I've heard
Great
this
question.
before.
Do you know the answer?
I can't remember. It's not the one in the ear that you think. It's somewhere.
Can I have a moment?
I've heard this recent.
If you know it, don't say
I don't know it for sure, but everybody assumes the ear, and it's not the ear. It's not the one in the ear. It's not the anvil in the whatever it is. Pass me that glass.
To answer your question, no. I don't know what that answer is.
Is it somewhere near your ribs? No. Don't know that.
It's got to be small, surely.
Where is it?
thyroid. This one there.
Oh, in your throat. Yes. In the throat. What was the reason for it? There was a reason for it being loose, wasn't there?
Right, anyway, what were we talking about?
Just that the capacity, the mental capacity to be able to vote is less than the mental capacity to...
This fact will blow your mind. Yeah. It's true, isn't it? That somebody can't do that.
Yeah, crazy.
I'm not... And one of the reasons why I would imagine why I could so easily defend myself, though I've not actually passed a judgment on it or anything definitive. Certainly not said anything unreasonable. You're not going to get told off for that, surely. And if you do get told off for that, then it's more important for me to put out truths and have a doctor on social media who will speak about how it really is from my perspective than it is for me to attend to patient care.
It serves nobody to put that out there, though, does it?
That particular fact.
That particular fact, it serves nobody.
No, but I'm not talking about that particular fact. I'm on about my outlook in total.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But what you'll find is your outlook generally serves nobody.
You don't think my outlook would be valuable?
Serves humans in general, but it doesn't serve the powers that be. What does that fact, coming out and speaking about that fact, who does that serve? Does it serve doctors? No. Does it serve the government? No. Does it serve voters? No. All it does is highlights a flaw in the system that is absolutely ridiculous, and probably needs changing. But the reason of it is it's probably a law that was made fucking 250 years ago.
Okay, well, let's just break it down.
And just hasn't been brought to the fore.
First of all, I think that example is still useful because what only that does is raise awareness about things, and laws tend to follow attitudes of certain individuals, and obviously we live in a society where masses have an awful lot of influence. If more people form opinions on something, it is more likely to then be reflected in our legal system. I think that's probably a good example of it. So actually, I don't agree that it's not useful pointing out those facts. In terms of what about the outlook, I mean, I'm already having patients, nurses, doctors, students all message me saying just so unbelievably grateful that someone out there either voicing what they're really, really thinking, saying it how it is, or they're suggesting a treatment that they've never heard for that in their lives.
So why is it 2023, December, and you're the only person coming out saying this?
Oh, I'm not saying I'm the only sort
I
of
know
person.
you're not the only person saying it, but why is it so difficult to find and so uncommon?
How weird do you think I am?
I don't think you're that weird. I just think
Come on.
you see the world in binary. It's true or it's false. You know, just like your mum. I can remember your mum walking around that corner when I was fucking 25 years old and going, fucking hell, Nick, that's some haircut. And I'd been to the hairdressers and they'd made a right bollocks up in my hair. But nobody else had said that to me, and that's what I was feeling. And I felt so insecure about it, but nobody else had said it. And I'm at the tennis club. She walks around the corner and she's like, fucking hell, Nick, that's some haircut. And I'm like, oh my God. And it absolutely was. But that's how you are and that's how your mum is. But not many people are like that.
The other side of that is that my mum has absolutely defended you and written letters on your behalf because she knows it's the right thing to do. And can I just say, in that position, I would take the start of that haircut.
You would too. Of course you would.
You would do the same as me. And if you didn't, you failed as being a friend, haven't you?
Of course. But there aren't many people. Now, actually, it's quite poignant you should say that, because I sat here a couple of days ago with Nick, the cocaine addict, and he said to me categorically that one of the things he's most pissed off with is the fact that nobody he knew took him to one side and said, what the fuck are you doing, mate? You are off your head. You are fucking ruining your life. He said not one person said that. And I said to him, do you think that would have made a difference to you, though? You know, you were this coke fiend, megalomaniac, addicted to power, money, ego. Would it have made any difference to you? And he said, 100%. It would have brought me back down to earth, and I'd have gone, fuck. So, having the ability to call somebody a cunt when they're a cunt doesn't make you many friends. But what it does do is it solidifies who your real friends are. And you might be pissed off with somebody saying to you, do you know what, you're being a cunt right now. And I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. But I'm still your friend, I still love you just the same. Rather than that person that doesn't do it, that pretends to be a friend. So that's quite poignant that you should say that, because that is categorically what he said on the record. That he wishes somebody would have said to him, you're being a right cunt, you're bang on the gear, and you need to fucking stop. And he reckons that would have stopped him. I don't know if it would, because I've seen proper coke fiends. Doesn't matter what you say to them.
I tell you what I have said though, like for instance, one of my attitude, like that attitude makes a huge difference to people's lives. I'll give you an example of this. I was working. You know what? I came down. I think we did a podcast the day after, and I told you I just had the week from hell.
You had a really
before.
shit day, yeah.
It was horrendous.
You even showed me your resignation letter. You even texted me your typed up resignation
it out.
letter.
It was like the end of this. It was so unsafe. I mean, I was never going to send it, but the reality, I did type it out. Yeah, I was taking out my anger on that. Bad week. Anyway, very understaffed. I was having to make decisions that, well, there was a competent SHO on it, but there wasn't the support that there should have been from, and obviously that impacts on more critical decision making as a junior. And it was flagged and everything, but you have to. Everything was fine. He did a good job, but I was at the end of that week. I was so knackered. So many extra hours worked. So much mental exhaustion.
How tired have you gotten before?
I aged more in that 1 week than I did in half a year, probably.
Because there's a lot of people out there that go, these fucking, and I'm not one of them.
Can you hold the thought? Yeah. The best part of that whole week was when I went to see a woman who was about to be discharged. I got called to see her because she had abdominal pain. I think she then had loose stool, but her observations were absolutely fine. Her stomach didn't hurt at all, so I was like, I don't think we need to scan this right now. Let's get some bloods. Let's give her some medication to solid her stool up a little bit. But this, we did something else anyway, but we dealt with the problem in a sensible manner. We talked through it, and I discussed the possibility of a scan with her. And I said, look, this is why I think it's necessary. And she was like, I'm absolutely fine with that. Wow. People connect to that sort of impact and decision-making so much, And when we say shared decision-making, really, obviously there's a huge aspect of that. But really what that really needs is just for a doctor, someone who knows what they're talking about, to say plain and white what the decision is and why. And people really appreciate that. She'd had her hip broken. And she was having to reposition furniture to shift around at her home. Mm-hmm. And we started having a conversation about this and a few other things because I could just sense something wasn't right. I don't know how. It wasn't a medical field that we started discussing. It was something physio. She couldn't get around the house, wasn't cooking, looking after herself. She had severe physical disability and was having to even reposition furniture, like put a chair there to be able to get to the stand up. And that's how she was getting around the house. And I'm virtually at the end of the shift now. I'm so tired. I'm so fed up. And I was just like, have you seen a physio before you've been discharged? And in my head, I'm just like, how has no one thought that this lady needs to see an occupational and physical therapist before she is discharged? When you find yourself in that position, you ask yourself, am I the only sane person here? And it was right in the start of the new hospital. I don't know how the protocols work. So she was asking, what's this going to happen? What's that? And I'm like, I don't know, because I've just moved trust. I've not worked there long enough to know how the systems work to be able to answer those questions. But I said to her, I'm like, look, I'm going to give you some advice that I would give you now if you were my nan and I couldn't talk to you ever again. And I was like, you are not to leave this hospital until you've had an occupational therapy assessment. It's that simple. Same with the physiotherapy. I think this is well beyond the medical issue. You're clearly not coping with what your physical needs are at home. I was like, what on earth has your home life been like? And then she told me, and bad. And she burst into tears and said, no doctor's ever made that much impact on me anyway. Because that's exactly what she needed to hear. And you connect with people.
Why is it not happening though? I mean, this is common sense.
Why did that particular example? Why did that not happen?
No, but this isn't an isolated story.
No, my whole life is like this.
And
not that example.
You hear on Radio 5 Live or talk shows or whatever it is, horrific stories of people being neglected and not treated the right way, and the care homes not doing this and that and the other. Why is that going unmissed? It is basic human I don't even know what the word is that comes after that, but the ability to be a human being and go, you're really struggling, let's see if we can help you. Why is that not happening? Is it lack of pay? Are they too tired? Is the hierarchy of whatever it might well be dictating things that happen? Is it expenses? Has the NHS not got enough money to do all of this? You know, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they said that if we were to fill every pothole in the UK, whatever the branch of the government that it is that deals with that would run out of money. There's not enough money for the whatever it is, National Institution of Roads or fucking whatever it is. There's not enough money for them to fill every pothole in England at the same time. So is that a factor? And it possibly is. But this seems like basic human compassion, understanding, and wanting to do their job, not just wanting to fucking clock off, go home and snort 3 grams of coke like the bloke that's selling cars did. And selling cars has a hell of a smaller impact on people's lives than doctors and nurses and physiotherapists and all of this. So I'm hoping that that's not the same reason, but it probably is in a lot of cases.
I'm just saying, if you are a doctor out there, then you have to hear this message. You know, it has to impact your clinical practice. It has to change your behaviour. It's just, is there a guideline in the world that touches on that? I don't know, probably not. But being a doctor does not come before being a human. It doesn't.
I mean, I see a lot of similarities in what you're saying as a doctor as what I've been as a tennis coach.
Oh, what you've been as a life coach.
But how the fuck can you have a person the other side of the net that is clearly using the grip the wrong way and not pick them up on that for 6 months? And they come to me and they're like, yeah, I've been having tennis coaching for the last 6 months, and they've got a forehand grip on their backhand. Is it negligence? Is it laziness? Is it I couldn't give a fuck, I'm just going to get paid the £25 at the end of this? What is it? Why is that more common? Why is it more common for there to be dog shit tennis coaches throughout this country? I'll be right honest with you right now. If I had a daughter or a son that wanted to play tennis, there is perhaps 2 tennis coaches in the entire county of Leicestershire that I would give them to.
Is it Mike James and Martin White?
Well, I'm not saying who it is because we're not here to slander people.
No, but come on.
There are 2 people.
Martin's amazing.
Martin is definitely one of them. One of them. And there's only one other in the entire county of Leicestershire that I would send my kids to for tennis coaching.
Tell me after.
So you imagine if that is equally...
Sam Preston.
Potentially. But how is that so difficult?
Who would you send someone for if you wanted an honest medical opinion? How many do you think you could know?
Well, I don't know. You see, the thing is that the close-knit tennis coaching society is probably far more close-knit than the doctors. I've only been to 3 doctors in my life, and I only probably have taught 5 in my life.
Well, how many doctors?
But certainly you and Richard.
Yeah.
Certainly. You know, I've had more advice from Richard than my actual own doctor, but my own doctor's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic from day one. I don't see him anymore because now he's got a load of student doctors. You go in and you don't see him. You have to like literally book in with him, and it's 6 months down the line. But this guy knows me. How you feeling? How's your foot? Can you remember when I gave you the injection here? How's that all going? Right. What are you here to see me for? I'm here to see you for X, Y, and Z. Great guy.
How different is that to your experience where you came home on medication, you didn't know why you were taking them?
That was the same guy that gave me them. That was
so brilliant in some ways, but
maybe because he knew me so well and had seen me over so many years, he saw a change in me that day. And that's possibly it. And he's gone.
And wouldn't you think that's a reasonable explanation?
Yeah. Absolutely. Now I've thought about it and I've gone, yeah, maybe. Because he knew me personally. You know, he spoke about the death of my mother.
You did have an idea about them because I remember you saying to me at the time, because I came over to yours one night and your meds were out on the table
And you'd said, "What the fuck are these benzos?" And I'd not taken. I think I'd taken like 2 or 3, and I was like,
And
"Didn't
you
do
were like,
anything
"You
to
just
me."
told me to take them."
Yeah. If
You
I
know,
was feeling a little bit
if I was,
overwhelmed.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not taking those regularly. You just told me to take them if things get too much. So you had an idea of how to use them safely. But yeah, you're right. At that point, but I knew at that point my ears pricked up
Yeah.
because you weren't on any medication, and now I
Mm-hmm.
see you on 2. I see you on first-line antidepressant medication, and you're also on benzodiazepines.
But I wasn't, because I'd taken them like once or twice, and I didn't
Sure,
take
but
them.
you got the prescription.
Yes.
Yeah, no, my ears pricked up at that point.
I mean, if I'm being honest with you, they didn't do anything for me. Nothing.
No, but
Didn't feel them at all.
the fact that you were on them,
Yeah.
the fact that you had that medication prescribed,
Mm.
yeah.
But no, absolutely, I wasn't suicidal then. I was suicidal. Probably, thinking back to when it would have been about September 2022.
Do you want to talk about it or not?
Yeah, so I was drinking every night. I drank.
Sorry,
every
I
night.
came across a challenge, and isn't like,
Yeah, so I'd obviously gone through over a 3-4 year period. My mum died, my sister died the next year. COVID hit, my wife left me. So I'm going through COVID. You're getting government help. So basically, I'm not earning any money, nothing. Can't tennis coach, nothing. Government are helping, your mortgage is being paid off for you. I then find out that my wife left because she was having an affair, and she's then moved in with the bloke. So the entire purpose of my life up till that point was to be a dad. I love kids, I love being a dad, and I was a good dad. Now all of a sudden that
you
was
still
taken.
are.
I still am, but that's been taken away from me 50% of the time. They're now in a house with a strange man I've never met. And you get all kinds of things going through your head. I've got 2 teenage daughters that are going through their own issues, and I'm only able to see them 50% of the time. I didn't get into becoming a dad for that. Some people become a dad because they just become a dad. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be to my own kids everything that I'd been to you and to Ben and to Aaron and to Alex and all of these people, Chris Bint and all of these. I wanted to be that person for them, and I knew I could be. So you've got all of this going through your head. I then fucking break my leg. So I'm out of action. I'm thinking, what the fuck am I going to do?
And for anyone listening who doesn't understand that, your income was tennis.
My income was tennis. That was it. I was doing a little bit of PE teaching on the side. And it went to zero. And if I hadn't have discovered Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies the 2 years before, I'd have lost the house.
How much did you have to take out?
All of it.
And spend, I mean.
All of it, just to live, Jamie.
How much do you reckon there was over crypto?
15 grand. Just to live. Because I got into Bitcoin and crypto at the start of the last bull market. And I was buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, not full Bitcoins and not full Ethereum, but I was buying Bitcoin when it was like $9,000. And I rode that.
That wasn't when you properly got into it, though.
Properly got into it, yeah. Properly. And started buying it on Coinbase, and then started talking to you about it, starting to talking to Lee about it, and then getting into other stuff. But then we deeply got into it like after that. But
when I first bought Bitcoin, it was worth 23,000.
Yeah, so I was in way before that.
But you told me about it after a couple of months. So
Yeah.
we're not talking like years and years.
But it was the start of a bull market, and things
Yeah.
went up big, quickly. It went very quickly from 9 grand to 12 grand, 12 grand to 15 grand. Like a week later, it's 17 grand. And it's like, fucking hell, this is the thing. But I divulge, or whatever you call it. I've gone off piece.
Yeah.
I got to the stage where I'm thinking, I'm not earning any money. I'd gone through the Tinder trap on Tinder, on Hinge, on Bumble, on Plenty of Fish, paying for the top brand, this, that, and the other. Because after 17 years of marriage, and it felt nice to have attention from other women. Do you know what I mean? Because I never cheated on my wife. There was no intention of that. And I would have gone to my grave being in an unhappy marriage for the kids. Because I understand how important it is to have that stability. And there was one night, and I thought to myself, I'd been thinking about it a lot. I'm thinking, what's the quickest way to kill myself without any pain? And I thought, I don't fancy just jumping off of a fucking tree with a rope wrapped around my neck, because I've got the vision that's going to hurt to start with, and I was too cowardly to do it. So I'm thinking, what do I do? And I'm thinking, I can't take fucking pills because I'm fucking a big lad. I'm fucking 18 stone or 17 stone, 19 stone at the time. I think I'm going to need fucking 600 paracetamol. That might not even fucking do the job. I mean, Jesus Christ. I've gone out to fucking on a night out and done fucking 20 pills and I'm still all right after that. So I'm thinking, I'm thinking to myself, I could tie the rope against the tree and just kind of let the weight of myself lull down, and it just kind of strangle you. So I've got this fucking big dog lead, and I thought, right, I'm going to do it. So I got a bottle of rum, and I was drinking rum every night, not like the whole bottle. And I got this bottle of rum, and I'm drinking it. I thought, right, that's it. And I can remember being in the living room, and I'd tightened the rope around my neck to see the best way of getting it so that it could get it tight. And I thought, right, that's the way I'm going to do it. And I'd seen the tree, because I thought to myself, if I pick a tree that's not, the branch isn't strong enough, it's going to snap. And I don't want someone to fucking find me, and do you know what I mean? I don't want to put that on anybody. So I thought, right, there's this tree that's right deep in the forest. I'm going to do that. So I thought, right, that's it. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. I've not written any letter, nothing like that. And
that wouldn't be your style.
No. It was done. I'd made my mind up. It was done. I was more concerned about. So I thought to myself, look, I'm going to make sure that I put enough food out for the dog, that if people don't realise for a few days, she's at least got enough food. I'll leave the back door open so she can get out. But there was no letter. There was no letter home. There was nothing. I just didn't feel that there was a way out. I just thought, I've got fucking no money. I've got no relationship. I'm not seeing my kids. I don't know what's going on with them. I've just got no future, nothing. I'm fat as fuck. My fucking leg's broken. I can't do anything that I was doing. And so I'm fucking drinking this fucking rum and coke. And I just fucking drank too much and passed out. And then wake up as you do, fucking 3 a.m. on the living room floor, and you're like, what the fuck? And the dog lead's there, and the bottle of vodka or the bottle of rum's there.
So you had it behind your neck at one point?
Yeah.
Did you wake up with it around your neck?
No. So the dog lead that we had has got like a looped handle, and because I didn't know how to tie a noose or anything like that. So I thought, well, look, it's got this looped handle. If I feed this end through, is it going to pull tight enough to restrict me? And I've tried it, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to fucking do it. Do you know what I mean? But obviously I'm not strong enough to do it. And I thought, yeah, that will do it. So I thought, how many times do I need to? Anyway, I've gone through it all, like, methodically. And I've just woken up, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So anyway, I've gone to bed. But the only thing that I was doing during that time was I was still meditating. I wasn't going to the gym. I was fucking eating dog shit. I was depressed. I was on and off with my antidepressants. And then a few days later, I was meditating one Sunday. No, so in the meantime of that happening and me coming to this realization, was my best friend that forever, I'm not going to name him, phoned me up, and we don't see each other a lot. And he phoned me up.
Is it who I'm thinking?
It is exactly who you're thinking, yeah. He messaged me and he said, can we have a chat? And I was like, yeah. You know when you get a message and you're like, this isn't a normal message. I know there's something deep here.
Your extra sense.
Completely. So he phoned me up and he's like, look, I've been suicidal and I nearly killed myself. And I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, I'm thinking I fucking nearly topped myself 3 days ago. He's like, I've come to the realization through some therapy that things have happened in my past that I'd forgotten that are now coming to the fore, and it's created all of it. I'm like, fucking hell. So that really was the kind of like, fucking hell, maybe you need to be here for this guy for a while.
Just be careful about anything you do say in this, because, like, for instance, if any of his family are listening,
it's all out. It's police and it's all out. It's court. And I mean, I'm not naming it. It's out there.
Sure.
So I was still meditating and I felt a lot better. And there was one Saturday night, I'd had a few drinks again, and I woke up Sunday morning, I put my headphones in, I was meditating. And as I'm meditating, it's only probably happened to me twice the whole time. You know, if you're sitting there right now and you think that's your voice, it's your voice, and you say, I've got to go and meet X, Y, and Z, whatever, it's your voice. This voice came to me, it wasn't my voice. It wasn't my thoughts, I wasn't controlling this voice. And it said to me, give your life 100% dedication for 1 year. All the things that you know you need to be doing, do it for 1 year. And if your life's not dramatically different in a year, then kill yourself. That's basically what it said to me. And I fucking come out of this meditation. And the first person I phoned
Is this when you woke up on
best
the
mate.
floor?
No. That was a few days before.
Sorry, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was all right. I'd spoke to my mate and I wasn't, in that state. And I phoned my mate straight up. And I'm like, it was a Sunday morning. It was like 6 a.m. But I just, for some reason, I knew he was going to be awake. So I've ring. He answers the phone. And I'm like, you are not going to believe what's just happened to me. And he's like, what? So I've told him I've been meditating. This has happened to me. And as I'm talking to him, I can hear him on the other end of the phone and he's crying. And I'm like, you okay? And he's like, yeah. He said, that's exactly what I need to do. He says, I can't fucking believe you're saying this because I need to do that. I need to get myself in gear. And it was go to the gym, stop drinking alcohol, meditate, find the supplements that you need. You need to be taking. Get yourself outside, get yourself fit, start self-development, start learning all of these things that we know on a daily basis we should be doing. And from that moment on, we both went, right, let's fucking do this. Let's hammer this for a year. And then from then we were on the phone constantly and we were talking to each other and we were bouncing off of each other. And then a few days after that, I thought, fuck this, I'm going to start recording this on TikTok. So my first TikTok video, and you can scroll all the way down to the bottom.
I've seen it.
It was me.
You're in the garage.
Sitting in the garage with the half-filled bottle of rum from that night that I'd not finished and the dog lead. And I said, if you guys know what this and this mean, then we need to have a chat because you don't need to go down that route. I've been there. And that was it. And that was all I thought. And I just started recording TikTok videos about whatever. And I got so heavily involved into it. And I stopped drinking and I stopped self-sabotaging. And I deleted Tinder and I started doing ice baths and supplements. And then I found out Shilajit. And all of these things started to fall into place. And I started journaling, which is now started to turn into a book. And now we're sat here in a podcast studio with 200,000 followers, 5,000 followers, a young lad that I'm able to pay a little bit. I can't always pay him everything, but a few grand in the last couple of months. We've got this fucking amazing studio. We've got people coming left, right, and centre. And I look back at that fucking meditation and I was like, where the fuck did that come from? Because it has absolutely changed my life forever. And I could not thank TikTok and social media enough, because I was a statistic 100%, and I didn't tell anybody. And when I tell people, they're like, fuck off. What, fucking Nick? Big, strong fucking Nick, outgoing, loudmouth, this, that and the other. You weren't feeling like, I fucking was, mate. Because I was able to walk onto a tennis court and act the tennis coach, the fool, the brother, the best friend, the dad. And I've learned how to do that throughout my life. But the reality was, as soon as that switched off, it was go home, sit on your own, walk the dog, have a drink, dark thoughts. What the fuck shall I do? How do I kill myself? What's the quickest way of doing it? How many Tesco's do I need to go to? Because you work out how many you can buy. You can't buy too many in the same shop because it gets flagged up. So you're like, right, what are they thinking? Fucking hell.
Could just use cash. I really should not be suggesting
Not
that.
really.
Go on.
No, you can't, because you go to the till and you can only buy 3 or 4 packs, and that's the limit.
Oh, you mean you want to do it within a very tight time?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't just go to Tesco's in Loughborough and buy 150 packets of paracetamol. I can't do that.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out where you could go to. And then you're thinking, well, what if I take paracetamol and ibuprofen? And then you very quickly learn that doesn't work, because you can take them both together. So it's not 10 paracetamol is far worse than 5 paracetamol and 5 ibuprofen. Is it?
I'm not going to give the number. I'll tell you about after.
Yeah, but what I'm
say
saying
for
is
most adults, medics won't get interested unless you've had a certain number, and then it changes very, very quickly. I'm not going to say. I would say what it is after.
And it's different with alcohol, and it's different with all these things. So you're thinking to yourself, "Fucking hell."
If this was a one-to-one consultation, I would say.
You know, if somebody would have given me a gun, I 100% would have done it. 100%, just bang, done, because it was quick and easy. And you think to yourself, "Fuck, you know, what do I do?" But then the human in you is going, "Well, I don't want to put anybody through any stress or worry or anything. So I can't just fucking drive my car into a tree, because then you've got paramedics and you've got police and you've got newspaper, all of that stuff." My superpower, and I said this before, the reason I'm not in prison for fighting is because in the instant, I'm able to figure out all of the branches that could happen from that moment on and where it leads to. I smack him, he falls over, he cracks his head open, all of a sudden I'm arrested, I'm getting done for manslaughter, I can't...
So what do you say about all the fights you have had?
Last minute, no other choice, or very drunk. But it's normal-headed, sober-headed, very easy to do that. So I'd already thought about, all the things, and you're thinking, right, well, where the fuck can I go and do this that's so secluded that nobody's going to find me within the next... I don't want someone to find me and I'm 99% done, and then you've got all of that shit to go through. What do you say to your mum and dad? What do you do? And that was literally there. I was on the point, and the only thing that saved me was meditation. That was it. Nobody knew. I was a normal person on the outside. There was no drugs involved. And when I say I drank every night, it wasn't fucking a lot of booze. It was 3 or 4 beers and a couple of rums. But it got me to that level where I didn't give a fuck anymore. And I was like, what's the fucking point worrying about the bills and not being able to pay the mortgage and not being able to do this? It doesn't fucking matter. If you just go bing, bang, bong, it's all done. All the worry's over. And then the next morning you'd wake up and you're like, fucking hell, what are you fucking doing? Hating yourself. Back to the daily grind. Getting fatter. Getting more unfit. It was obviously dark weather, Christmas, dark. You know what I mean? Just shit. It wasn't in the summer. And that was that. And that was it. And that's fucking why I ended up calling it End the Struggle. Because I thought, I think this is the end of my struggle. I think from this moment on, that's it. I think I'm there. And people message me now saying, "Oh, can you fucking help me end the struggle?" and stuff like that. And I'm like, fucking hell, it really did mean something. And we did a poll the other day because I said, people are saying you need to change your profile picture because you need to have your face on there. It's you now. Everybody knows you. But that fucking little profile picture means a lot to me because it says, work hard in silence, let your success be your noise. And that's what it was. I didn't tell anybody about it. Nobody knew. I didn't want my name attached to it. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to fucking do this myself. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to research the supplements that are going to help me. I'm not going to go to the doctors and put on more medication. And I'll learn about ice baths and social development and personal health and all of these things and tidying my house and Jordan Peters and all of that. And it meant a lot to me because I'm thinking now I can fucking tell people, do you know what? I don't give a fuck how bad you've been. I've been there. I have been there. But nobody knew it. And I reckon there's more people like that than there are people like young Nick that's been on that is quite clearly off their head and quite clearly abusing drugs. And people are just too worried to say anything. Nobody said anything to me because they didn't know. Nobody knew. Not a single person in my life knew. And that's why I've been apprehensive to give anybody my book, particularly my family, because nobody knew. And I write about this. I write about that night.
I know.
So I'm thinking, fuck, I don't want them to then go, fucking hell, he's there. That's not where I am. Because from that meditation, my life has completely changed. And I am evangelical about get your fucking mobile phone out your pocket. Just say whatever it is that's on your mind. People want to know what you're going through, your struggles, your strifes, your successes, your near misses, your failures, your absolute fucking dick moves that you've ever made. People need to see that because they're all going through it themselves. And too many people keep it quiet and subdued and nobody knows what you're really going through. And all of a sudden, I've got 200,000 people that are following me going, fucking hell, you're totally real. You're real. You're real. The reason I'm taking shit legit is because you fucking made videos about it and you've said it's helped you and I believe you. And that's you know, it's fucking changed my... I mean, fucking, what we do, we're sat here now. The fucking podcast. I've got a fucking dominatrix coming on in a couple of weeks' time. I've got Marines that are fighting in Afghanistan reaching out.
Ben worked real hard to get that project in.
Ben, get the swing set up. But it's madness, isn't it? And there's always hope. But I don't think there would have been a doctor out there or anybody. It took something outside of me to shake me into going, let's give this one fucking last push. Because I've said this a long time, and I've lived the life of many men, maybe 3 or 4 men. I've got no problem dying right now. I've fucked more women. I've had more fights. I've earned more money. I've been broken. I've let people down. I've been their best friends. I've been to places. I've been to different countries. I've done everything. I've been in fucking fast cars. I've been in shit cars. I can remember... I can remember coming down the M1 at 3, 4 in the morning after going to somewhere in Sheffield. That we'd gone to a whorehouse in Sheffield, and my fucking car was so clapped out that the radiator was fucked, and we needed to put water in there. We're on the M1, it's broken down, so we've all pissed in bottles, put that in the radiator. It's got us back to Loughborough. Mate, I've had a fucking eclectic life, so I've got no problem clocking out now. Because I've lived, there are a lot of people that we know, a lot of men, I've lived 10 times their life. And they're 60, 70. So I've got no problem with that. But I just thought that, at that moment on, this is why I said to you, I've got less of a decision now and less of a guide than I've ever had in my life. Because from that moment on, it was like, right, you fucking do with me what you want. Whatever feels right, I'm just going to do it. And if it's a podcast, great. If it's a book, great. If it's this, it's that. And just things are just fucking opening up, and just like it's ridiculous. It's almost like it's not real, it's fake. Do you know what I mean? And you probably don't know what I mean, but it's, you know, it's been quite a fucking year, man. It's been quite a year. And now when I think back to that fucking meditation in my bed on a Sunday morning with my headphones in, give your life a year. And if it's not dramatically different, then kill yourself. And you look back at it and you're like, fucking hell.
I'll give you an example. Right. I mean, like, one thing that will change my clinical practice now is what you've just told me. You know, because Ben's going to upload that onto, and from now on, anyone who I'm worried about in that situation... I've never told
that to anybody.
I know.
That's literally the first... People have heard snippets of it. I've never told anybody.
I can tell with you.
That's the first time I've ever said that to anybody, but it's all in my book.
Yeah.
It's all in my book. And I'm writing my book, and I've got absolutely no idea what my book is, where it's going. Is it self-help? Is it a biography? What the fuck is it? I don't know. I'm just writing. And the problem is, so many things are happening now that I can't stop writing. Because I stopped writing, and then this has happened. The podcast has started. Fucking hell, the podcast. So now, do I write another 2 or 3 chapters about meeting this guy Nick?
What do we call it? Should we call it the life of many men?
It might be the life of many men, but I don't know. It might not be. I don't fucking know. It's quite crazy.
So, I mean, if anyone comes in now, Nick, I mean, I'll give you an example. So, if I came to you and you were worried, how much do you think this response would have helped you?
0.
So we talk about the medication.
0.
Okay. Or
zero.
someone in that situation.
I think 0.
And no, someone in a similar situation who's just hit dead ends in every direction. Obviously, we would talk about medication. That would be a part of it. We would talk about talk therapy, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm going to give an example. For this is effective for a lot of people. How much do you think it would have helped you? Is when it's it's turning negative thoughts into positive thoughts to make positive action. And I know that's very general, but I'll give you an example of that. When you're feeling really, really low, you stimulate something in your behavior to try and not make you feel that way. but it doesn't talk about the root cause of things. For instance, I was like, if you came to me as my mate, I would say, Nick, I think the pill you need is a lot of heart-to-hearts with people. And some people are better at doing that than others. In my opinion, one of the best people to do it from a professional perspective is a clinical psychologist, because they will, in detail, talk about what is your situation, what's the outlook for this for the trajectory and the situation that you find yourself in. What can you do about it? Has it influenced any of your behaviors, which are actually making the situation worse, which I think absolutely falls into yours? What can you do about it? And I was like, if you were coming to me as my mate, I would be telling you that's who we need to be seeing. And I do talk to people like that. And now another thing I will say is I want you to go and listen to a podcast. It's a podcast that me and my friend have made. And however long this, your story was, I would tell them to listen to it. Because that's just how I function. But I don't know, do you know... If someone had come to you and had that conversation, do you think it would have helped?
No.
Do you think it would help some people?
No.
You don't think it would
not in my situation, no. Because I'll tell you what my biggest problem is. In my whole life, I have always 100% felt like a failure and a fraud. Always. And it was almost as though that stage in my life a year and a bit ago was the culmination of that failure. No wife, not seeing your kids, broken leg, fat cunt, no money.
So let's say
it was
someone...
like, here we go.
Yeah.
We finally got to where you were going. You fat fucking loser who wanted to be a dad that's failed, wanted to be a husband that's failed, and we're right here, you fucking idiot. I think somebody coming and speaking to me would be more effective than going and speaking to a doctor, because that doctor ain't been there. They've not been there. They've not been at fucking low.
We're not.
And then maybe going to a doctor.
Nick, I mean, why wouldn't you just do both? I mean, but the question I've asked, let's say you're somewhere along that journey, and you've seen myself in whatever situation, in a social, personal, consultational, and I've had that conversation with you there, and we've talked about medication, and you know what there are, and we've talked a little bit about your behavior, and I've told them that's the sort of person that they need to see, that and a friend talk things through, and that they need to listen to this 20-minute podcast. I mean, I think you've been I don't think you're quite reflecting on this. I think if someone told you at some point to have gone and done those things, is that not a test you would want to run on every single person out there who's struggling for whatever reason?
Yeah.
That's my outlook on medicine. So it doesn't... It's a great example of being a human doesn't come before being a doctor, as you, because there's not a single doctor in the world who is ever going to tell the story that you've just told. Unless they've been there themselves. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Not in a professional...
Yeah.
No one can say what you've just said.
And I think... No, they can't. They can't say it. They can't say it.
I think that would help
millions of people. It will do. But also, my superpowers come from... I've always been the confident, outgoing, larger than life kind of person that people are going, you fucking talking, you've never felt like that. Well, if you felt like that, fucking hell, how many people are feeling like that? And that's kind of, the amount of people that have messaged me going, you fucking helped me so much, because nobody talks about this. And that's why I think it's been so powerful when Nick's come on. Because he's not glorifying it. He's like, this is what I did. This is the depths that I went to. And I know there are people out there that are struggling like this now that haven't admitted it to anybody. They're now messaging me going, mate, you fucking described me. How the fuck do I get out of it?
Do you think Nick would be willing to come on with me as well? Because I'd be very interested to hear about what his opinion on what my outlook of medicine is and should be, if it would have changed his outcome.
1,000,000%.
Should we do it? Should we make it happen?
100%. Yeah, he will come on and he will speak to you. I mean, he's got a very, very... I wouldn't say alternative.
Can
but
I host
he's-
that one then and ask
yeah,
him?
man, you sit there. I'll fucking sit there with Ben and chat to him, because I think it's as good for anything. But also, you know, you're
He's around
so
Thursday, I can.
open-minded. He wants to come and see the Dominatrix, and that's on Thursday.
Where does he live? No, don't say.
Local, Derby way somewhere. So very local. But
Ask him for Wednesday morning.
I don't know what we've got. We'll have a look.
You've got me.
What you went. Okay. You see, this is what I'm saying. I don't plan things.
We had this conversation this evening.
I am not religious. I'm not spiritual.
Some people would.
Become religious after.
Great comment.
But I have given myself over to whatever happens will happen. If it feels like the right decision to make, I just go with it.
Can I explain
I'm not
something
worried
about
about anything.
ADHD that I imagine you don't know? One of the things you often observe, especially when you scan people's brain in ADHD, is that the prefrontal cortex is not developed in a way, does not look the same as that as other people. This is an area of your brain that's heavily involved in planning and decision making. And I would suspect if we were to scan your brain right now, I don't think that part of your brain would be as developed as most people. I don't think.
I totally agree.
I don't think it would be.
Yeah.
Typically, what you tend to find in patients like this is their creativity regions are really quite active.
Yeah.
And I think it can be quite dangerous, actually, when people hear such big comments about medicine, because what I'm going to say is true, but very misleading. There's no evidence that medication cures ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
But what it would do, Ritalin is an amphetamine, and amphetamine is actually a stimulant, and people find that a little bit strange. Like, why on earth are you giving someone with ADHD or ADD?
I used to take
Same
speed
thing.
and it used to calm me down.
Do you want me to tell you why?
That was my first drug.
I'll tell you why medically. Ritalin is also an amphetamine. It speeds up your brain. It speeds up your prefrontal cortex.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in a situation where your creativity is relatively less impactful on your decision making, and your planning and your decision making is suddenly much more important. Another thing you find with people who have got ADHD is their decision making can be absolutely terrible. Like, they're not going to move from that car that's about to hit them until it's literally going to smack them in the face. I think you're certainly trying to, out of all my friends, you're by far the hardest to plan something with. I think you fall fantastically into that. But what Ritalin does do, and I'm not saying it comes without its risks, is it activates that part of your brain. So some people who have ADHD literally describe their life as being different from the moment they start. Their life is before medication and it's after the medication. And you can absolutely understand why. And you can just take it for a little bit of time, knowing if you need to focus on something. So, for instance, within a work setting. But I wouldn't be telling people with ADHD to take this medication all the time. You know, other times your creativity has served you very, very well. Far, you know, and in a way that someone else's brain just wouldn't have been able to function. So when you were to take speed, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
I can absolutely understand why that calmed you down.
It normalised me.
But how much sense does that make?
A lot of sense, but also what you're saying is, so I've been a tennis coach and a PE teacher. You give me a lesson plan where I have to read it and structure it, I fucking fail. You give me 25 kids, 3 hockey sticks, 2 skipping ropes and 2 tennis balls, I'll make you a lesson that's the fucking best lesson you've ever seen within 5 minutes, and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And I love fighting fires.
Yeah.
Let's fucking see what Pandora's box opens today and let's deal with it. Planning and shit like that, I can't do it. I've never written a lesson plan in my life. I hate them. Can't do it. Can't do it. I fucking hate it. Can't do it. Just fucking chuck me 6 kids.
You're the best tennis coach I know. Obviously, I've never been taught by like Martin, Sam. You know, there's a lot of people I have high respect for, but you're unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I think part of that is if I can, I'm fucking good at drawing.
Yeah.
Like really fucking good at drawing. I don't boast about many things, but I'm fucking good at drawing. And it's that,
I remember when you started learning it.
yeah, literally just like you, I'm going to learn Italian. Really? Okay, 6 months later, you're fucking fluent in it. I'm going to teach myself to draw. Really? Okay, yeah, 6 months later,
I
I'm
remember
selling
you
it.
sending me that. I remember you telling me.
It was just my attention to detail and
What
that
text?
hypnotic, that therapeutic sort of there. But I don't know. I am very creative. I mean,
Hugely creative.
I can sit in front of... I sat in front of this lad the other day on a podcast and he's telling me about his business. And I went, you need to go bang, 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 bang. And he's gone, I've never thought of that. Ben sent me a fucking picture today. He's like, he's implemented them things you've just said to him. It's going to transform his business. It's like, I never thought of that. And I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, yeah, it's obvious. People come and sit next to me and they go, why is my TikTok channel not doing well? And I go, yeah, bum, bum. And I'm like, this is just fucking obvious.
Can we do mine while we're on it?
Yeah.
Should we put it? Right. Go on then. Let's test it.
Well, he can get it up on the screen better, can't you? He wants his TikTok channel on. He wants a free fucking consultation, the fucking cheapskate. On his 12
I've lost count. I do not know how many kids camps I've done for you. Purely just because it's you.
I remember with Turkish, reading his paper.
So once our old tennis coach, he sent me to the co-op, which is a fair run.
It's a fair one. You beat him in his car.
I got to the co-op, got food, and run back before we got there in his car. Can you tell when you started the account? I've not figured that out.
I don't
But
know.
Nick, while Ben's setting this up, I'll give you an example of a situation where I don't think this medication would have helped your ADHD whatsoever. You're a highly creative person. You put yourself in that situation. You've got 3 hockey sticks in front of you. You've got 25 kids. You've got no space. You've got a skipping rope. You've got a bag of tennis balls. And you will make an amazing lesson.
Yeah.
An amazing lesson. You've not written a lesson plan in your entire life.
Never.
Why on earth would I want to activate your prefrontal cortex with Ritalin or a similar medication, increase the influence that planning and decision-making has at the expense of creativity? I wouldn't put you on that not at all. But are there other situations in your life where I think...
But if I was a banker or somebody working in an office,
well, yeah, I mean,
I would need
exactly.
to do that.
So let me put it from a medical perspective.
Why have we got that on?
Nick, there might be other situations in your life where I think that effect would be hugely beneficial. And that is why I think if you've got symptoms...
I've got a pile of letters at home that big that I've not opened.
Could be bank statements.
Yep.
It could be...
Yep.
Well, it will be. It could be bills missed due. But Nick, this is...
TV license.
This is a message I would like... This is a medical message I would like to send out to everyone. If you think you've got symptoms of ADHD, go and talk about it with your doctor. See if you need a diagnosis for that reason. If you think that brain change, that change to your outlook on decision-making, on creativity, would benefit your life in some way, in certain situations, then you have to go and get yourself seen. And your life will change.
Would ADHD lead to hyperanxiety as well? Because I absolutely had that from as far back as I can remember.
Anxiety very often presents... Okay, then so you absolutely have to go and get a diagnosis. Anxiety is a common feature of ADD and ADHD, and sometimes people get diagnosed with clinical anxiety when the actual underlying cause is attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactive disorder. If you're in a position where your prefrontal cortex is diminished or is underactive for a reason, then you're not able to make decisions in the same way. You're not able to plan, and you will let that car, that object, that danger move towards you until it is about to slap you in the face. So that's the thing for a lot of people. You know, does that sort of behavior cause stresses on life? Absolutely it does. You know, instead of dealing with something when it's small and insignificant and on the horizon, you're letting a tidal wave come up to you.
It's 100% my life. That is my life in a nutshell. Ignore. You're getting sent to court because you've not paid this bill. I'll deal with it.
Yeah. That's how I want every single person to understand the medication that they're on. Because would you now take that medication in certain situations or would you have to feel it would help? Literally, I mean, when I mean this, you don't have to take it forever.
I don't think I'd be where I am now.
Do you think that would benefit people though? Because we're not talking about dumbing down your creativity, and that's the key thing I was saying. I don't want to change you as a person. You're brilliant. You're amazing. But if you've got an underactive area of the brain, your prefrontal cortex in this case, that is going to have...
Cruise X.
Nick, that is going to have impacts on your life. Does she follow me?
She's coming on the podcast. She must do. Is she following him as well?
No.
Lovely.
So anxiety often presents as ADHD, but why don't we do a full podcast on this, ADHD and autism, because often the symptoms of ADHD and autism are almost impossible to distinguish.
I've definitely got both. I'm the fucking king of it.
Should we do a podcast on it Thursday? Wednesday, whenever it is. If
Wednesday,
we can't get Dave in. Is it Dave?
Nick.
If we can't get Nick in.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet Nick.
Mate, he's a great guy.
But I
He's a
tell you
great,
what,
great
Nick, I'll
guy.
do a proof of why people like doctors who are open. Because he says there's not a doctor. I bet he's got a thing or so to say about doctors. But just watch how we get on. You know, it's going to be unbelievably positive.
But
I cannot wait to meet this guy.
Imagine if you went to a doctor that within the first 5 minutes said, I used to have a coke problem.
Yeah.
You'd be like, wow, okay, you've got my attention now.
I'll tell you a story of, obviously won't tell you where it comes from, because someone I got absolutely no connection to. Patient went in worried that the penis was small, and this doctor went, I'm going to be honest with you, mate, it's bigger than mine. Wow. That's honesty. Did you hear what I said?
The doctor went, it's bigger than mine.
Did he just gesture that was me?
No, he was fucking chucking shit at me, the prick.
Why?
Hear what I said.
What did he say?
And then he got his cock out. He said nothing. He was looking at me and he just fucking chucked something at me.
Ben, why are you breaking up the flow of the conversation?
He's a dickhead.
Like,
It's 8:30 when it's fucking 7 o'clock.
That is foolishness, but you know what? He's 16. He's 16 years old. He's brilliant.
He's 16 and he's running a podcast. We're just chatting shit.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
That's messages everyone needs to hear, though, in my opinion.
It is, but...
Why are they on your medication? If you don't know why you're on your
That's why
medication,
this
do you
is
not
going
think you should
to
find
be
out?
the next best thing.
Final questions.
Is there anything else that could have helped you other than meditation? And
Are these questions
what
that have
would
come
you
in
say
from
to
listeners?
those in that situation? That's come from Ben. Benny boy, who's thinking about hanging himself. I know you're not. Anything that would have helped me other than the meditation? Well,
Can I ask some questions,
I
pointers?
didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do it, and that wasn't the first time.
In terms of what you would say to it, only you can answer that. But this one, can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
I mean, that I might suggest to someone. Picking up the phone and ringing someone. Ringing me and just talking.
I fucking hate speaking to people on the phone.
Okay, question
even
answered.
on a good day.
Yep.
I hate it.
What
I hate
about
it more than
running
anything.
into someone in the right environment? You've got time, you didn't have anywhere to be, they were open, they were friendly, they were talking to you, asking you about your life. They could pick up on the cues and the behavior, any subtle traits you were giving off. Do you think you might have talked about it under
No.
that situation? No.
Nope. I'd have.
Would you recommend anyone
bravado,
Yeah.
bigger than life? Let me buy you a drink. All's good. I've shagged this many birds. I'm the fucking man. That's what it would have
Well,
been.
why are you thinking about it for 2 minutes then? Like, how much could that have helped though? One of the ways people can drastically improve their health, happiness and life is if they just stop lying. Why are you telling yourself that something's okay if it's not? One thing I love to ask to patients is, I look them right in the eye, we've built a report at this point, and look, do you think there's a problem here?
Shame.
And if the answer is a problem, if you've got something to say, then silence is a lie. And feeling shame massively impacts on people's lives. But if your kid was in that position, there is no way you would let them go on without you fully supporting them. You would be the person, you would tell them to speak their mind, you would get them to socialize, tell them to talk, you would get them to stop drinking alcohol, to stop taking drugs, to take their medication on time.
But this is where my superpower of overanalyzing comes in, because
Just to finish the point though, like, why don't people apply that to themselves?
I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you right now why. Because the instant...
No, but let me finish the question, because I need to get... Yeah.
The instant that I let that cat out the bag...
Yeah.
It's... My dad might suffer a heart attack. My mum and dad might split up because they don't think that they've supported me enough, and somebody's going to blame somebody. What are my kids going to think? What are the kids at school going to think about their dad? And this all happens in an instant. This isn't a prolonged and protracted. So is this the right decision? My kids are going to go to school and think that their dad's a fucking nutcase because he wanted to kill himself. And then I'm going to think about all of the things that's going to happen to my siblings and my brother and my sister. And they're all going to come around and it's going to turn their life upside down. And then my sister's going to fall out with her husband because she's spending more time with me because I'm depressed. And their business is on the rocks and he's struggling and he's an alcoholic. And, so what I'm going through there, in an instant, goes through your mind. And that doesn't happen to most people, but it happens to me, and it's happened to me my whole life. And then the decision is shut your fucking mouth and just crack on. Because you doing that has less of an impact than saying it.
Sure.
And there might be some people out there that understand this, but you cannot believe how many... in Endgame, Marvel Endgame, that fucking Doctor Strange is sat there and he comes back and he says, I've gone through 10,987 different situations and only one of them comes out right. That's me. Maybe not that many, but every situation, it's what happens? What are the ramifications of this? And you come back to it to keep your fucking mouth shut.
Yeah.
And unless you understand that, I just thought that's how normal people were.
So what would have helped you?
Nothing.
What would have helped you a year before? Had you gone to see someone and they said, listen to this podcast, get your life in order? You know, there have been someone there who holds you accountable, who doesn't make sure you're drinking too much alcohol, who tells you if you've put 3 stone of weight on and tries not to say that and tries not to pretend that that's okay. And the trajectory of that life is in any way going to benefit you. You know, if you were put on medication, that you take the medication on time, you understand why you're taking it, you talk to people, you check in. Your support network is so important, it's unbelievable. And maybe you reached a point where it was too late, when the decision had to come from you. But I don't believe that.
But I've never, ever told people. I mean, I can remember my first, proper serious anxiety attack. I mean, year 7 or year 8. And it's fucking crazy, actually, because this cunt's fucking messaged me on TikTok saying, can you come out with your business, blah, blah, blah. And we were sat and we'd had a bit of an argument. And he was like, right, I'm going to get this fucking lad to come and beat you up. Who was like fucking 6-7 years older than us. Fuck off, whatever. And we were on lunchtime and I'm playing football with my mates. And then we've gone back in and a couple of these people come over to me. They've gone, Nick, some lad was here looking for you. And I'm like, what? And it was this fucking lad that this lad had said, I'm going to get him to come and fucking fill you in. And I'm like fucking 11, 12 years old at the time. Do you know what I mean? This lad was
6
like
or 7 years.
17. It's like a proper bloke. And I was fucking petrified. Now, my brother was an hard cunt.
How old was he at this point?
Late 20s.
Chris is that much older than you?
He's 58.
How old are you now? 45?
Yeah. He was a lot older than me. So if I'd have gone to my brother...
So he was 24.
If I'd have gone to my brother and said, this fucking dude, this is his name, has come looking for me, he'd have gone and he'd have fucking filled him in, and there would have been I never told anyone. I kept it all inside, and I was fucking petrified for months. Months. Couldn't sleep. What the fuck? This is it. This guy's going to come and fucking kill me.
How much of that do you think was due to your ADHD?
I don't know.
Okay, well, me telling you that your decision-making and planning is incapacitated greatly.
Yeah. If I'd have told my dad was a fucking rum bastard.
Can you understand?
He'd have
though?
found him, and he'd have fucking hunted him, and they'd have destroyed them.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have even been it would have been a no-brainer. Just the same as if you fucking came to me and said, "Oh, such and such, don't worry about it, we'll sort it out, it's done." But I just dwelt on it and fucking it ate me up inside, and I was so worried I didn't want to go to school. This cunt's fucking messaged me now recently. "Oh, can you help me with my fucking TikTok channel?" Yeah, I'll help you, cunt.
Does he know why? Must he?
No, because nothing ever happened. That guy probably came round once. He was probably going to come round and say, "You fucking say that to my about
Do you reckon
my
the guy
mate again."
remembers?
No,
No.
but I do. I remember everything. Every single thing. Anybody that's ever done anything wrong, or I remember everything. And people don't realise that I remember everything. I can hold a grudge for fucking 40 years.
Do you remember when you had a bounce smash just over the net?
Yeah.
And do you know what you didn't remember what I'm going to say?
Leathered it at you.
What happened? I stuck a racket between my legs and got it back.
Oh, that one. You've done that a couple of times, I think. And Josh Nunn has as well. Cunt.
That was the most astonishing shot.
That's just nonsense.
No,
stuff,
I
like
know,
on
I
a
know,
tennis court. Like I'm talking about a proper grudge.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forgive my wife. No matter what. I know it's not the right thing to do. I know that the same person is like, you have to. I can't do it. It's not happening. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. That's just me. I remember every
Do you
single
remember the good
thing.
things people have done to you as well?
Not so much, no.
Really?
No.
It's interesting because our brain does have a tendency to remember negative events, and one of the reasons behind that is how long do people spend thinking about negative thoughts compared to how long do they spend thinking about positive thoughts, and are the brain connections that they form different from that. So for instance, you've said you've spent months petrified about something.
Yeah.
I bet there's never been a period in your life where you have spent months absolutely elated about one thing. Never, because that's not how the brain works.
Never.
So we do have a tendency to remember negative information, and that's why we have negativity bias, placing too much emphasis on negative information that is not scaled to the entire context.
But is that not a fight or flight evolutionary trait?
So fight or flight is misnamed. The actual name for it is fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes.
And not a lot of people know that.
Screw you guys! He fucking loves the Cartman.
I actually made this.
Red racket. He's only just been introduced to the Red Rocket.
I tell you, Ben. Another thing between us. I bet you absolutely love South Park.
We all do.
It's
Bro,
amazing.
I was the fucking founder of South Park. I used to walk around the Emporium nightclub in Colville.
I've said you and me should make a cartoon like that.
How do we do that?
He will figure that out in a week.
He would figure it out.
You would figure
He
it
would
out.
figure it out. Yeah, of course he would.
Nah. Mate, the AI would
I've done Cartman impressions to Judge Jules in London in a nightclub.
But okay, so one thing that, can you not see though from you are without question undiagnosed something.
100%.
ADHD. Can you not see how that underactiveness in your brain leads to you behaving and making decisions differently? And
But
why,
I'm a fucking legend.
legend.
Legend now.
But
Imagine
can you
if
not
it
understand-
was, I'd
but
have been
can
a
you-
fucking...
But can you not understand? Can you not understand completely from that why someone with ADHD is far more prone to anxiety in stressful situations?
Yeah.
And not everyone reacts how you do. In fact, if you gave your life to 100 different people, let's just say we're going to take you, we're going to clone you 100 times. I can guarantee
99 of them are fucked.
we would have 100 different results.
Yes.
Completely different. And just because, let's say you had seen someone at a certain point in your life, actually, it would have changed it in some reasons. But if you were explained to take the medication properly, and I would say I want to do nothing to tone down your creativity in the right environment.
Do you know what? I didn't really figure my creative... I was always into drawing with my dad. And
Tell me about it. But the point I was going to say on to make, but there are other situations where this underactiveness in your prefrontal cortex is causing you unbelievable anxiety, stress, can lead to depression, Of course it can. And that's the bit I want to help you with. That's why people need to talk to a clinical psychologist.
But does that change me now? If I go to the doctors and get a clinical diagnosis and get put on fucking Adderall or whatever it is, does that fucking change me now because I don't want it to?
It's your decision to take the medication, Nick. You know,
because I can come up with some fucking crazy ass shit and make it work.
100%.
Does that stop?
So what happens is, Ben, Google
I think
how
it's
long
a superpower, man.
It is a superpower.
It's a fucking
Google
superpower.
how long the effects for first-line ADHD treatment last. But the point is, we could give it to you in some scenarios, and this is how it would help you. Your decision-making will become sharper. You would spot and be able to react to that danger on the horizon rather than when it's banging down your front door. That's the main difference that we're talking about in this case. In other situations, Nick, if you've got a tennis lesson, I don't want you anywhere near this, because if something happens, you will be there to deal with it. Because when you have to deal with things, you can absolutely do that. And you need a creativity, but you don't need it in that other situation. There are times in your life where, yes, I think that medication would have benefited you 100%. But we're not trying to take away from the amazing part. We're just trying to give that part which needs some help what it needs.
Maybe I just need a fucking PA.
That would benefit hugely.
Maybe that's all I need.
Do you think Jem would do it?
We're already on to that kind of thing. He's helping massively.
Ben's brilliant at that.
He's not. He's not brilliant at that.
No,
he's in between.
He's
very
brilliant.
creative. He's very...
No, it's more than that.
That's not his superpower. I need someone that is just fucking structure,
Yes.
calendar, X-Files, fucking Excel spreadsheet, that.
I'm pretty good at that.
I need that in my life. You know if you said...
I reckon I could spend 20 minutes a day on that and I'll do it
You know
better
if you said
than
to me...
Yeah.
Don't fucking do anything other than I'll tell you when to be at the podcast studio and who you've got.
Yeah.
I don't need to read anything before about you. You do that for 365 days a year, 3 a day. I'll do them. We'll have the best podcast on the planet. But the other shit, I can't do it.
I reckon. I tell you what, I've got an offer that I'll do for free. Obviously, I reckon I could spend 15 minutes a day and help, because I have got that structure and organisational part.
I've got
Which
people
you
messaging me on SMS. So hit this.
I'm just saying something.
Listen, I'll give you an example right now.
Yeah.
Ben says to me 2 days ago, he said, "We've got a podcast at 6 o'clock on Monday, Nick."
I know, yeah.
I'm like, "Nah, we've not. I don't know who it is." He's like, "You have?" I said, "I don't think I've got one." So anyway, we've left it. I've booked in a podcast with you. We've come down here. I get a message this morning. "Hi, Nick. I'm really sorry I can't make the podcast tonight. I've had a family emergency."
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? I've gone through my DMs. I've gone through my emails. I've gone through my DMs on Instagram and YouTube. Everything. I cannot find this guy that we've booked in. There's no name. I've just said to Ben, book it in. Luckily, this guy's fucking cancelled on me. And I'm like, fucking hell, Ben, we did have a podcast booked in. I have got no fucking clue what and when and where. I think I've probably booked in 2 podcasts today. Luckily, I've now got Jem and Ben. I'll just send it to them and say, book them in. Time, who they are, the number. I don't need to know. Fuck all else about them.
that.
Jem's helping out with it, yeah.
Okay, but
You sit me down in front of someone for 3 hours and I'll fucking have a conversation with them about nuclear physics, UFOs, Egyptians, fucking ADHD, whatever. But the organisational side, I'm fucking dog shit.
You just got to tell her then. So Jem, who's almost inevitably listening.
100%.
I love Jem. We've got to meet her.
She's going to come over, she will.
Right, what time are we booking me in Wednesday morning?
Fuck knows. What are we doing Wednesday? Wednesday, whatever. 10? 9? You bring him over. I'll be here for 9.
All right. I can't get him over. I don't have his number.
You live next to him.
To this guy?
Him.
Oh, Ben. I'll bring Ben over. I thought you meant Nick.
We've got to have the fucking producer.
Ben, what? Well, yeah, okay. We'll get over.
We'll do it.
Thing is, though, I'm not quite like you because I don't know what time I'm going to turn up. We'll turn up.
You're in between me and somebody that's fucking militant and
Yeah, but
procedures.
that's the whole world in between. Huh?
Yeah,
Tonight?
yeah.
Yeah, of course I can.
Simply love it. Anyway, look, this has been about fucking 2.5 hours. So I think we need to wrap it up because I need to.
Let's do 2 more things. I want to have a look at the TikTok. Let's just answer those questions Ben sent. So off the basis of, we've had a big discussion It's been medical. It's been everything.
Massive.
So,
From Shilligan.
what would you say to someone in that position? What would you say to someone, as someone who's been on the brink, suicidal? What would you say to someone who's in that position now? Because you can tell them something that I can't.
Greatness is on the other side of despair. No matter how deep you've gone, you are one video, one Facebook post, one YouTube comment away from changing your life. It don't matter whether you're a cunt, you're a nice person, somebody out there will resonate with what you're saying. You are alone, 100%. But
In
there
some
are
ways. There's people out there who can help.
no. You are alone, but there are people that can serve a purpose at a certain time to move you to the next stage. But ultimately, you're alone. Nobody gives a fuck about you really deeply. If you can count on 2 fingers the amount of people that truly give a fuck about you, you're very lucky. Most people haven't got that. And that's not a bad thing. And reflecting on that and having that as a negative rather than a realization can fuck you over. And the second you realize it's all about you, you need to fucking pull your finger out, help yourself, do the things that resonate with you. And if you can find some people along the way that are going to help you do that, don't rely on them. They're not there. They're not the crutch. They're not the safety belt. They're not the parachute. They can help you go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. And if you can keep a couple of them through all of the stages, you're very lucky. But ultimately, it's down to you. Not the medication, not the fucking this and that and the other. And that's just my view on it. Nobody got me out of this except me. Nobody. No medication. I was on sertraline. Didn't get me out of it. What got me out of it? Meditation, that inner thought, that kick up the arse. A purpose. Find your purpose, whether that be TikTok, learning Italian, medical school, becoming the best tennis player in the world, becoming the greatest dad in the world. Find your purpose, the rest of it will take care. But realize that your purpose is your purpose, nobody else's. You're on your own to that summit. On the way up to the summit of Mount Everest, you may get a couple of Sherpas that help you and give you some food and give you an extra fucking whatever it is, blanket or whatever. You fucking got to get there yourself. But if you've not decided that it's the summit that you want to get to, you're always going to be stuck at base camp alone. And being stuck at base camp alone is a hell of a lot more lonely than being at the summit alone. With the few people that you may have dragged along, and some of them have fallen by the wayside and some of them have helped, and on the way back down you can thank them and you can say, do you know what, you helped me get there. I think that's it. A poignant moment.
Maybe we should
So,
end it on
Dr.
that.
J.C. Monchief.
Wow. How can I spread this to more people then? It's for you, obviously
So,
you're the man, but
I sit here
play
and
my
I
bit.
look at this, and you've already taken into account a lot of the things that I've already told people. I need to know instantly from this what it is you're about. Dr. J.C. Moncrief. Real talk, real issues, medical plus more. So I know it's that. You're a bachelor in medicine. I know you're a doctor. You're a real doctor. There's a picture of you. I can see it. Straight away, I'm looking at these and I can see from your headlines, describing painkillers or prescribing painkillers. I've got that. Sleep deprivation. I'm interested. So straight away, I can look. It's you, it's you, it's you. You're a doctor. We're talking about these things. And then you've pinned your fucking amazing fucking views. Straight away. Bang. Next one. Heroin. NHS. Boom. Boom. Bam. Bim. Done.
It's good views, aren't there, to be fair?
Mate, it's fucking phenomenal views. I mean, anybody watching this at home, the guy's got fucking 118,000 views, 20,000 views, 700,000 views. But this isn't what you were doing the last 3 attempts. It's taken us time. How many messages have you messaged me going, how the fuck do I get that title, Nick? And I'm like, it's just there. It's under the A and the A. You're like, I can't do it. Can't do this. They're going to have headlines. You've done this. You've done all of that. This isn't your first iteration. This is your 3rd iteration. And you've taken on board the things that I've said.
What does that 12-4 mean?
Perfect. Where's that?
12-4, Dr. JC Monchief, 12-4.
12, yeah, that's when you posted it, December the 4th.
When did I post the very first episode? It was about... No, that wasn't that one. It was bleeped. It's pinned.
But look, I'm looking
It's
down all of this.
yeah.
They've all got a title on there. One thing I probably could say to you that would improve your channel a little bit more, get me on there a bit more because I'm handsome as fuck. No, in all seriousness, and we did mention this a while ago, a lot of these are clips from this podcast, which are great, and that's what's caught the attention. But sometimes people don't realise that this is actually your channel. They think that it might just be a channel that's just reposting clips. So every now and then putting in an actual, hey, this is Dr. JC Moncrief. I'm in hospital today. I've searched for this person. Thanks so much for all the love that you've sent on the prescribing medication, so that they know that this is an actual channel that is you. You've started to do that. Brother, you're fucking way ahead of me. Way ahead. I think after the first month and a half, I had 1,000 followers. You've done 4,500 in 3-4 weeks.
I don't know. Ben, go to the...
Oh, hold tight. Hold tight. See, he's a fucking legend, isn't he? He's a legend, isn't he? He listens once, and that's all you need to know. My guy.
I want to go through all of my followers and just randomly select people who come out. Right, anyway, Junior Doctor Unfiltered on the NHS.
But listen, guys, if you're still watching this and you've not got fucking bored of me, this guy's gone from nothing to actually quite a big deal in 3 weeks. You can all do this.
Ben, go to that video. I don't know what date I put it up.
You don't need to be a doctor.
Junior Doctor Unfiltered.
I'm not a doctor. 27th of November.
How many days is that? Well, so 5 weeks. That's more than I thought. No, 27th of November.
27th of November. So you're talking fucking 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. And I think the reason that went off so bad, because it was me in the foreground, handsome.
Okay, so what about, for instance...
No, but what you've got to also understand is a lot of the people that are following you already know me and have seen me. Mm. So they see something, they go, oh, fucking hell, that's that. Oh, that's not that guy, that's you. So this is what I talk to people about. You can fucking leverage off of me. Leverage the fuck off of me. If you've got a business and you want to promote it, come and sit here. I don't want fuck all from you. If you want to put your business sign up on the back of the TV for a podcast, let's fucking do it. Because I'm sick of people struggling and not having enough money. I don't want your fucking money. I can get enough money from the big corporates. We've got fucking people coming out of our arseholes asking us.
Okay, so another question. I got a few questions about how to make it better. One of them I want to ask a question about what you said, actually. This looks rather dated. If we play this video out, can you tell me what's good and bad about it? So,
I can in about 3 minutes because I've got to pick my daughter up. That's Lewis. But the thing is, what we're talking about here is we're talking about a small clip from a long-form content.
No, but this is the style of virtually every clip I put up.
You need to start putting some real clips.
Well, wait, it said this looks dated. I wonder why. You've seen the video. Why does it look dated?
So this is what I do. This is fucking live and direct.
It's got a point. It does look quite dated.
Guys, we're live at the Pure Waffle podcast studios. I've got Dr. JC Moncrief. Now, I know a lot of you have seen him just as clips from this podcast, but he's the real deal behind that account, Dr. JC Moncrief. We've just had a fucking 3-hour heart-to-heart. He's given me some advice that I never, ever have had from my doctor, and I really appreciate it. So go and give this guy a follow. He's a fucking legend. I know it looks like it's a lot of clips that he's putting on his posts, but they are actual clips from this podcast. He's out there on the front line with the NHS, and he's saying it how it is. Real shit, real doctor talk, a compassionate guy, one of my best friends I've ever had. Go and follow him. Make sure you're getting us on the Pure Waffle podcast. and let's fucking smash it. Yeah, so a little bit more like that every now and then. So do you understand what I mean? So it's like, if that was your first video now, it's like, oh man, that's fucking sick.
We're live at the Pure Waffle podcast studios.
So-
With Dr. JC Moncrief. Now, I know a lot of
Mate,
you
it was
have seen
perfect.
just as clips from this
See, I knew you'd
podcast,
have that
but
ability
here's
to
the
pull
real-
out.
But that's what I can do. But this is what I'm saying to you. I don't script nothing.
No.
And people are like,
Put the
how
volume down,
fuck-
we know what it says.
How the fuck can you just fucking pull that out and do that? And I'm like, I don't really know. I just go into acting mode.
Yeah,
Dum,
yeah.
dum, dum. And then look at it. I'm like, fuck. Honestly, I'll send you some of my book.
Nick.
You read it and you'll be like, how the
You know
fuck
what?
do
You
you
send me
read
the whole thing, because it's time I get through this. One thing I often say about me as a medic, I am exactly the doctor that you would have been.
that? Correct.
I don't know how else to describe it apart from that. We do a post about that one with that statement.
I
just
will,
sent
but I
to
really
you.
need to
No,
go
no,
and pick
of
Megan
course.
up.
So if I do a few messages,
Don't forget to check Dr. JC Monchief on TikTok and follow the Pure Waffle podcast. We're having some amazing conversations with some fantastic people who are true to their spirit and their
Selves.
occupation in a no holds barred 3-hour conversation.
How long do you actually both think that was?
2:45.
are we off now?
If you say bye now, we are.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Peace up.
goodbye, peace. Jamie, pleasure.